Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Wild Rift Origin Series August edition. If you're a collector, I hope you got your 3 stamps for each of the months so far, because this is indeed the final one before we start looking forward to our finals. My name is Des. I'm joined by the great betrayer Riku herself, because it turns out her real name's Ricky and it's absolutely killed me all day long. Riku, how you doing? I had to push you out for it at some point.
Oh, well, yes, I'm doing great today. Yes, Riku, I know it's too late to turn back now. You know, I'm Riku now. But yeah, excited for today. Just as you mentioned, you know, tomorrow we've got 2 grand finals, but today we also get another amazing finals for sure. It's coming from Group C.
Absolutely, that will be the first series of the day. But we'll talk a little bit more about what to come as the day progresses after we've got a small bit of content for you on what all of our players think of the current patch.
Every patch brings out something new. It depends on how actively you're searching for something new, because I'm pretty sure that every patch there are 2-3 champions that can be used quite efficiently in a competitive setting, but nobody tries.
I think when it came to the July finals, the patch coming out in the middle of the final event was definitely pretty scary for us. We were definitely concerned because there's meant to be a really big patch. There was all these item changes and it ended up being pretty massive.
The meta completely shifted into a crit ADC meta. So yeah, we had to just panic, making Google Docs, trying to figure out, okay, what's the best dual lane matchups.
The main problem was to change every build. If you think the jungle is totally different now. But other than this, I don't think we had a lot of problem. If you study an item for a little bit of time and you practice and you see the difference, then you can change and you can choose the best.
I think patches in general are actually pretty good for us. We have a really creatively minded team. We're definitely not afraid to play any weird picks or different picks, and I think it just gives us this really big edge as a team when a new patch does come out.
So in general, I would say patches are great and are refreshing the game. In my opinion, it's also a skill if you adapt to it quickly. If you know what's good, know what's bad really quickly, and then you obviously have an advantage.
Biggest question is, will any of the teams want to prioritize this if they're willing to give up just the Rift Herald exchange because of the 2.4 patches? It is now live and early. So
throughout the history, best teams in the world have had kind of a unique way of playing. They have had a unique playstyle. They didn't really follow the meta, and no one could figure them out.
Every patch is a new challenge. Sometimes patches are smaller, sometimes patches are bigger. Whenever there's a patch, I'm excited.
Some real big brain statements there. Sometimes patches are smaller, sometimes they're bigger. By nature of it, some will be smaller than others. You're absolutely right. But some thoughts there coming out from the players, and they are absolutely right there in saying that, Riku, as well. The Charge played especially making a massive transformation on how crit is played throughout the game, especially in the marksman position, right?
Yeah, there is so many adjustments. I feel, I believe last month we've seen Corki go through 3 different builds, but I feel like in the month of August, the builds have started to stabilize a little bit more.
A tiny little bit. We do have some highlights, of course, from yesterday. There were plenty of good games that played out. So far this week, have been incredibly surprised by Supermassive from Group B, making it all the way through towards the finals. After what started as an amazing game for them on day 1. But yesterday, the hotshot sniper in the Ashe doing absolute work. Furax having a field day here against the Orianna.
Yeah, I feel like Ashe has been a primary pick just to enable all these 1-3-1s you've seen, like the Xin Zhao, and then you got the Riven in the side lanes doing some magic, and the Seraphine as well, finding its place in the meta, not only, just to be there to assist with the Olaf, but also just to try and propel like an AD carry such as Furax, or propel any sort of the 1-3-1 split pushers.
Absolutely. I mean, as across the groups as well, which results would you say have surprised you the most so far? For me, it's probably Group C and seeing Sunlight go out so early. But in a spot as well where we've got GK currently fighting in from that upper bracket, doing really well for themselves so far as well, which is what's leading us into that final today.
Yeah, sure. I feel like, aside from Group C as well, it's going to be Group B. When we look back at day number 1, it was, super massive being able to get that upset against Unicorns of Love. So it has been the trend of upsets so far across the groups.
Absolutely. This one playing out here as well. We had a couple of Kha'Zixes creeping in. We saw Seraphine starting to make a way back in at points. I know everyone's going to be hating on No Team, No Talent for playing Sona and Seraphine and making it look so damn obnoxious, because I'm sure that could inspire a few teams. But have there been any big picks so far throughout the Origin series in August that you've seen that maybe you didn't expect coming into it?
I think it's the rise of the Diana once more. I feel like Diana has fallen from grace already because the early to mid game has been a huge struggle, and you have to play around build around the Diana rather with a Wukong or maybe even a Galio. But so far, while it has been 50-50, it still could work and has made a return to the current meta.
Pantheon Jungle's a big one too. Let's not forget about that. So many teams. And in fact, that last one you just saw on screen a second ago, another great example of it. Teams really putting into work in the early to mid game to get themselves snowballing ahead. So really keen to see if he stays as a thing today. However, we have some brackets to take a look at so you guys can see what has been going on over the last couple of days. We'll start in Group C here, Riku. As mentioned, a huge surprise, Sunlight falling down to the lower bracket and eventually going out down there as well.
Exactly. Imagine from June to July, it has been the heated rivalry of Sunlight versus Cut, but looks like it's a different era this time around as both of those teams got knocked down to the lower bracket, as it is Cut who's able to fight off Team Occupy to get into the grand finale up against GK Esports.
Every single time I see Cut Esports, I just want to make a joke about how they're a cut above the rest, but it is such an obvious pun that you feel like it shouldn't be said. So we'll move on past that. We'll have a talk about Group B, because for me, this has been the group to be excited about. Supermassive blazing a trail all the way through from round one against Sangal. We had that as our first game on Monday. Massive 2-0 surprise, and they've steamrolled their way all the way through into the finals, leaving now two other teams to face off on the lower end. BK Rog versus Bal, who will see play it again today to see whether or not which team will be facing off against Supermassive in the grand final tomorrow.
Yeah, I got it. It's absolutely insane. Group B, they've basically beaten top 1, 2, and 3 teams to get to the current stage at the moment. So it has been a huge upset, and cannot wait to see how the day goes by.
Absolutely. I love it, the fact that we're seeing UL and Na'Vi being beaten down as well, just showing that you can be kings for a short time, but not for long. Let's also take a look then at Group A, the one where we have 3 teams going from this into the finals. And currently there, No Team, No Talent, reminding us all that this is not a team maybe, but it is stacked with talent, breezing their way through into the grand final. That 2-1 victory over Keizo yesterday, securing them that spot at the top of Group A. And again, we'll see two teams in the lower bracket, Keizo against Gamelord, to determine who will be playing against No Team, No Talent in the best of 5 tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Will we see a repeat of the June finals with Team Kesso versus No Team, No Talent, or the July finals, which is against Gamelord? So I'm excited to see how the day goes, and especially tomorrow with the grand finals happening.
Absolutely. Tons to look forward to, I guarantee you of that. But let's take a look at the schedule for the day, what the 3 fixtures are that you can set your eyes on. Starting things off, it's going to be GK coming up against Cut in the grand final of Group C, before we move on to BKR coming up against Bal in Group B. And then ending the day in Group A, Team Keizo versus Gamelord, fighting it out for a chance to challenge No Team, No Talent in that best of 5 tomorrow. So 1 grand final, 2 lower bracket finals before we go into 2 more best of 5s tomorrow, Riku. Lots to look forward to, lots of storylines still to be crafted.
Oh, for sure. I mean, last time we had our grand finals happening in the 3rd and 4th day of July, I feel there has been a lot of full game 5s, and I'm excited to find out if we're going to see a repeat of, again, game 5s going the distance.
Any predictions for today? Anything you're looking at here and thinking, they've got it super easy? Because we all thought that on Monday that it'd be easy for Sangal, and we saw exactly how Supermassive did. But any games that you look at and just think, that's the real spicy one of the series today?
I gotta say, it has to be the Group C grand finals between Cut Esports and GK. I feel like this rematch is going to be super duper spicy, especially Cut is out for revenge as they've fallen from the lower bracket just because of GK Esports.
Oh boy, revenge matches, we love them. Before we get into it though, because that is the first one starting off, GK against Cut. 2 teams had a little bit to say about this one, and trust me, there's a lot of vengeance wrapped in. Let's have a look.
So hello, my name is Sultanos. I'm the jungler for GK Esports. I'm excited. I can't believe we've reached to the grand finals actually.
The layering of CC from GK was just too much. Knockups, double kill, made up a triple kill. You have DH was in mindful being popped by then 6.
My name is in real life is Bassam, and in the game it's Cut Timus. I'm the support role main of Cut Esports. it's a good feeling actually to reach the grand finals again.
This is a humongous gold lead from Cut Esports right now and full control over this game number 2.
Now we have the points like as a first place, so we are going for September. That's really surprising for us, but we are looking forward to take the competition out. GK, I really respecting you, but it's time actually to take a revenge from you.
I believe Cut Esports is a really good team. Every time they come up with a new strategy, I believe in order for us to win, we gotta keep our mental game strong. We will be able, because we've been practicing for a long time now. I believe we are the best team in this region.
Let's get this competition. Let's take our revenge. Let's make this fun, actually.
GK for the win.
August will, I think, forever be remembered here, Riku, as the month of the Challenger. Supermassive Blaze in Group B that we spoke about. Here in Group C, it has been GK Esports, and they had a lot of fighting words to say right there, that this is our region. However, Cut side, maybe you could argue, got a little bit lethargic in the last couple of months, and now they're back ready to wage war.
Exactly. I mean, GK had an uphill battle starting from June. And imagine, they started 4th place in June and then on to 3rd. And this is very close. They could grab and nab that number 1 spot this August.
There the rosters up on your screen. Furax, the one that always jumps out for his Ashe play yesterday. Pretty scary Engage comp coming out that surprised a good few teams. I'm sure I've been watching those games very, very closely and have a lot to say about it, because in their mind, again, they are going to be the representative at the finals for Group C. So they've got a thing or two to prove in this game that they are indeed the best. Otherwise, that question will loom over them forever. Should it not have been GK that were at the finals, and Cut need to prove that today.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm curious to see if they're going to be surprise picks here and there that they've hidden throughout the whole entire August. And again, this is the grand finals. This is the final game for them. And yeah, I'm just excited to see how the draft is going to go.
You said a word there after the word surprise. What was it, Riku? Can you remember?
Draft?
You said picks, but it was pretty close.
Pick.
We'll take draft. It's time for our pick and ban, so let's get into it. So, different words, same sort of meaning either way you want to look at it. Let's see then what comes through in this series. Will we see the Ashe banned away against GK? I think that is the expectation.
Yeah, with GK, again, this is between these two teams, it's like a clash of concepts. Cut, or rather, GK loves their pick compositions. They love their Ashe, they love their Seraphine as well, and the 1-3-1. Cut, on the other hand, is a little bit on the opposite side of the spectrum. They like their 5v5s. They like their wombo combos. So now, Cut, giving massive respect to the Ashe and the Xin Zhao pick as well, that they keep constantly falling through in their games.
I mean, in the last time they played, GK played Xin Zhao all 3 maps and Riven as well. It wasn't maybe as scary as the Ashe and the Xin Zhao, but it was still one of note. But Cut, knowing that they aren't on the blue side here, they ban away the Akali despite playing it themselves twice. Probably afraid that GK would take that away. You spoke about this pick already here, Riku. It's coming out for them. The Seraphine is the first one for GK.
If GK decides to pair the Seraphine with an Olaf pick, then Cut can respond with a Jarvan 4, which has been, the soft counter with a Cataclysm. Now they've managed to get the Nami pick, so that denies the Tidal Wave Encore combo that we saw yesterday. But something that will change the equation now is an early game jungler, such as this Lee Sin, so we can imagine early game movements from GK and the Lulu pick as well. I wonder what carry they want to supply this on. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a Kai'Sa pick, because I feel like they need that late game insurance as well in this composition.
Cut bringing out the Diana they picked up yesterday in their game against Team Occupy for game number 1. Won it out quite comfortably with that in the mid lane, paired up with the Olaf. So they do have this pretty good Engage comp currently built around, but I'm looking already at the protection on the side of GK as well as the 2 supports. You've also got that Zyra ult coming out. The double carry setup, I think, really smart now that they know they're playing into this combination of, well, we've got heavy support, 2 AD carries never going to be a bad one, but the Wukong on the other side to round things out. That's a lot of Engage on the side of Cut here I'm worried about.
Yeah, that's exactly it. They've got the Diana pick with the Cyclone on towards the Moonfall. So this is, again, just as you mentioned, the Wombo combo. And they've got the Nami Tidal Wave as well, in case the Ragnarok would get activated by the Olaf pick, and then the rest of the team will just get boosted with the movement speed. And I feel like, that is the formula that Cut Esports is aiming for.
It could be the magic one. Let's see how these drafts face up, though. It is time for game number 1. So let's get on to the Rift and see how this one breaks down. Diana being one close to my heart in terms of picks. I'm really keen to see what Boss can do in this game on that pick.
Yeah, GK now, this is a little bit they're deviating from their comfort, the comfort composition that they used to beat Cut Esports. I'm now curious to see how this double AD composition is going to go. I mean, I see it though. Furax still has that self-peel, but if things get a little bit too dicey, there's Tamola with that wild growth as well. And again, this is going to be a top Graves as well. So with this matchup, this melee to range matchup, Risk isn't exactly going to have a good time in the early game.
No, I don't feel there's too much to worry about. Yes, the bullying's going to come through, but it only takes one bit of catch to come through. And speaking of, Boss the one getting a little bit aggressive here, I think, and paying for it with a lot of poke coming out on the other side. With Q being missed out by Xenon, but between the two of them, the Lulu and the Seraphine, well, you can still get bullied by supports, my friends, even in the early game. In fact, especially in the early game. I'll change that statement too.
Exactly. You're pretty squishy at this moment. Not a lot of things that you could do. Boss, I believe, just wanted to plant early vision just to keep track of Sultanas here on this Lee Sin. Again, they're expecting big level 3 movements, especially in the mid lane. Boss, as a Diana versus a Seraphine, that isn't exactly a kill lane. But if you add Sultanos on the Lee Sin into the equation, then they must be worry for ganks.
I think a bit of poke coming in as well from the side of Cut in the bot lane here onto Furax. But of course, maybe as potent as it would be if you were playing on League PC here, the heals need to really come in from pots or from the jungler, but that Honey Fruit put him basically back up towards full HP here, not too much to worry about. As on either side of the map, you can see the junglers taking down those early crabs, granting that early vision. One thing I do want to touch on thinking about it, Riku, is over the last couple of days, we have seen much more peaceful lane, should we say. There hasn't been as much fighting. As I say, that one potentially going down. I know, right? It's crazy. The heal coming out at the last second. It's a bit of a curse. Same sort of story in the mid lane, but just going to walk that one off. Shouldn't really be too much of an issue. Boss going down low here. The barrier comes out, but I don't think it'll be enough. The red's sticking away. It's not going to go down. The first blood comes back the other way. Boss is still going. Could try and go for the finish, but in comes the Graves. Can they do anything about this? The double kill coming through. He really wants to get Boss, but Boss dodges away. This could turn into a triple kill coming out if it carries on. As it's looking low. Barrier coming out. But now it's the Wukong in trouble, but the red buff's enough. Make it a killing spree for him. It's a 3k for the Wukong.
Boss escaped death thrice in that attempt on GK's life. And it was what? Sultanas, Xenon's, and Hazet's attempt. And they all failed because of Boss's maneuvering. All of his sidesteps really worked well to dodge all of the skill shots. And what a clutch coming from Boss. Basically baited out the rest of GK and, Cut, earning 3 kills early game.
I know if that was in one of my ranked games, I'd probably have 2 members going AFK by now, because that is a real tilter. They spoke in the little pre-game segment about their need to make sure that they're composed. They need it here, because look at that. Composing to go for an absolute slamming. They do get the kill onto the Seraphine, but Boss will finally run out of his cat's 9 lives, find himself going down to Sultanas. Sure, it's one coming back, but it's a 1-for-1. Not the best in the world.
Yeah, that is just, them wanting to get that revenge and equalize the lane, perhaps. But look at this. This is Boss using the flash. He's so low, activates the shield, just dives in. But unfortunately, the Q, rather, coming from Xenon, unfortunately does not hit. Hazet even consumes a flash for this. And still, Boss survives out of all this chaos. And, they had to pay for it with their lives as Hazet falls, the third person to fall from GK.
It's honestly absolutely crazy. I was speaking about the earlier kind of I just want to say passiveness, the lack of aggression you might see because of objectives, but look at that. They're just going all in saying, you know what, this is easy. We'll dive you, we'll flash on you. We know that it's down because of what he did to the Diana. Good read by Cut there and good exposing of the fact that flash was down to get themselves yet another kill. One does get traded back onto Risk in the top side, so all things being balanced out again. Cut getting themselves kind of proactive and finding a kill, but it's still being traded back by the side of GK.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference is that, Boss was able to get those early kills. How does Cut transition that lead into a bigger lead? While GK, I believe Sultanas is able to get, 2 revenge kills? I believe they would want to utilize that on the next fight. But it seems that GK would like to concede, hey, let's just get the Rift Herald. Boss got early kills. We are definitely not prepared, especially as 5v5.
I imagine Cut want to try and force a fight here as well, knowing they've got the package. Like, this is the prime time to go for a fight, and here we go. It's going to be used for a dive in the middle lane, and even with the Xayah, No ult on side, did have flash, but still goes down. They're going hell for leather here under tower. It should be the Wukong going down. Yes, it shall be, but that first tower falls, so maybe not the best outcome. In goes the Diana, straight in the middle, burnt through, no problem at all. Backline going in. Sultanas beating his way down onto 69. Risk getting absolutely melted at the same time, and surely you don't go too far for this chase. They're thinking about it, but it's going to be a kill trade coming in for the Nami. May even make it away. The heal coming in might just about be enough. Gets the flash away at the last second. A bit too much for Sultanas, but another great fight coming out for Cut with an immediate response by GK.
Yeah, Timus was able to get like the bounty off of Sultanos, but the biggest question is, or rather the biggest threat is still that Sultanos is able to get that double kill on the board. He's already 5-2-1, and we've seen Lee Sin's just snowball out of control as long as they're able to utilize that lead. Let's take a look at that again. It was a pick off of Forax, just isolated in the lane, and the rest of Cut just basically say, hey, it's the go signal. No AD carry means that Hazed is the only one left, and unfortunately, you know, he's still kind of ramping up as the Graves. But the thing is, Sultanas was in the lead. Wild Growth will most likely always go to him because he is the most fed member of the squad, and that's what we saw, a cleanup with Timus getting like a bonus kill off of that.
What kind of concerns me about Sultanas though? He's basically going full damage on this Lee Sin, and sure, he's nice and mobile, but as soon as you find the Wukong or the Olaf dealing damage to you, they'll melt through you like they almost did just there. Now, sure, he nearly got the kill back onto one side, and in the bot lane, oh my god, it's going on all across the map, Riku. They're diving in deep for this one, because why wouldn't they? They're mowing through this lineup, no chance of Forax, flash, barrier, ult, everything invested, and still can't stay alive. That should be the bot lane tower going down, but look towards the top side. They're marching onto the inner tower and may even find themselves walking away with a second, and quite rightly so. Cut say, okay, time to get back. That Herald doing a lot of work. 2 towers in the top lane going down.
That is a lot of value on that Rift Herald there. Not only getting First Blood Tower, that means they're able to equalize the gold after their losses in the early game, but also creating space at top side with 2 towers down, meaning more space to get possibly bottom side objectives. Let's take a look at that replay again with Sultanos being able to live through the slashes from Risk, and it was pretty close. It could have been a 1-for-1 exchange. But looking at the bottom lane, of course, Boss had early game kills, means let's go. This is perfect. The Moonfall didn't even need a Cyclone to pair it up with that Wombo combo. It just started as the main engager. And with that, they're able to get Forax once more. Actually, feel a little bit bad for Forax and Hazed as well.
I mean, they had a bit of luck in the Lee Sin living on about 5 HP previously, in the same way that Boss did several times in the mid lane. So you feel like that luck is starting to run out. Mid lane, it's yet another fight. It is just constant skirmishing. Boss with a great Cyclone back in, pulls down right inside of range and picks up the kill. Beautiful use of the ultimate. Looked a little bit questionable to start, but still gets the outcome they want. It's another kill.
Really nice clutch from Timus there. Tidal Wave from the side is able to save Boss's life, and they get a bonus kill. They get a bonus kill onto Xenon here. And with that, they are going to try and prep for the next dragon to spawn, which is the Air Drake. So this is going to be really good in taking, what do you call this? Getting that roam potential that they want to do, especially with Boss in the lead. Of course, they want to keep going. But rather, it is the Wukong having the time of his life with a 4-1-4 already, Black Cleaver and Sunfire Cape. So he's going to be a little bit tanky as well, and high value on that Cyclone with a pen.
He is starting to charge ahead. I mean, look at the Lee Sin here as well. 800 gold ahead of the Wukong, but then you turn your eyes towards the top lane and see that Risk, also one of the more richer members in this game, could be doing a lot of work. Diana, a K ahead so far of the Seraphine too. They're in a good spot, I feel, for this dragon fight Cut, and that really on the side of GK, you don't want to be fighting this one. They appear to agree right now, being zoned away by the Corki, saying, look, we don't want anything to do with this, at least for now. Look on the top side, Risk, I think he's trying to catch himself onto this Grey. Should be a bit of a scrap on the top side, trying to burn his way through. And this will be pretty much everything he needs. The flash away, the flash over the wall for the follow, the double dunk coming in, the true damage from the Reckless swings enough to bring down the Greys. And in comes Sultanas, trying to go for a trade back. We'll find it because he's a Lee Sin who was 6-2 for God's sake. But now it's jungler versus jungler. The flash forward, can they get anything onto this one? The Wild Growth coming in, the flash away from the Lulu as in comes the Tidal Wave, and in comes the Corki too. Sultanas finding himself belted down, left in no man's land. That's going to be a kill going across to Wukong, who establishes himself as the superior jungler.
It all came down one by one. Boss, though.
What's going on? Come on, Boss. He really wanted to burn through. Furax is not having a good time, even with ult flash barrier. He's not having a good time, Riku. And in he goes
Not at
again.
all.
This time coming in onto the Graves, but may have overextended a little bit here. Tried his luck, and now may pay the price. Goes in with the ult,
Wow.
dodges away. Furax, though, should
No
be able
way.
to bring down the flash away. Just a Q will be enough. Can he get it off? Gets the dash. The Q gets the swipe across onto the Graves. Gets the double kill, and Boss walking away like a boss. Finds himself for 2K, and GK walk away battered and bruised.
And that was, what, a 1v4 situation? Tamola and Xenon just wanted to give all their utility on towards Hazet and Furax, but unfortunately, it didn't work out. Boss still maneuvered around that.
It's unbelievable. It's fight after fight in the game, Riku. We're 10 minutes in. We've had 23 kills. It feels like they respawn, they run mid lane. There's going to be a fight somewhere around that area. And here it feels like it's going to have to start gathering up around the Baron. Looking at it, Cut are in a pretty good spot to be able to look to take this one away. But here is that catch in the top lane that we spoke about. The Graves not expecting the Olaf to be here.
And he flashed too to expect that he had an escape route of that blast cone, but it's not available. And the rest of GK pretty much came in one by one, but no one came for Sultanos just because everybody else was pretty much far away. Only Tamola for that assist. But it's definitely not enough in a 3v1 scenario. The package did an amazing job just splitting the fight into two. And I love this 1v4 scenario. Like, Xenon was pretty much far away from the fight, and the timing of the Featherstorm was great to dodge the Moonfall, but it's still not enough. Boss was still massive so far in this game, getting a double kill off of that.
I'm being highly pedantic, but I do wonder why Tamola was stood so far away. I was like, you can be involved here. You can be auto-attacking this Diana. I think he wanted to leave the kill and didn't expect that much damage to come in. In comes the Moonfall.
Nice.
Not quite timed right, but still finds the kill. The Rampage coming in for Boss. Xenon being melted down as he's being rampaged onto by the Olaf. Has it the last one left standing here? This could be an ace coming through as in comes the Wukong. You beat one down, you send him back to base, and they always find a way to fight their way back in. Boss does eventually fall, but at the cost of 4 lives on the side of GK.
Yeah, that's a lot of death timers on the board for GK. That means Cut can get straight into the Baron and look to siege. There is only one second-tier tower, inner tower, left in GK's base. And, I mean, good news for them. They do have a decent amount of wave clear. They've got Xenon here on the Seraphine. They got the Graves. They got the Saya, most importantly. But let's take a look at how that all started. It is Boss. No fear, he is leading the charge. He doesn't need the Cyclone coming from the Wukong to start this fight. He just needs the long-range, air quote, tidal wave coming from the Nami, and it's just pretty much enough to set up for these fights. And the rest of the squad just follows up and cleans plate.
It all bleeds
Plate.
on through.
Plate.
Yeah, the clean plate. Sure, they're eating dinner. Why not? Make sure you lick it clean so it is good to go back in the cupboard after. Why not, Riku? Either way, I do want to touch on, of course, how things shaped out for Boss there, because don't forget, Diana isn't so much a tank. She's a bruiser here, and she's building basically full AP. The Roa, the Nashers, and maybe the Deathcap looking at it there and saying, yeah, that's heavily going in towards AP. A little bit of tankiness being offered. And look at the Graves almost finding himself burnt out. They're trying to get Boss finally going to get the finish off as Sultanas finds him isolated. They've removed one of the key damage threats. The problem is, you're still looking at risk. You're still looking at the Wukong. There's still so much damage packed on this side that they can't realistically step outside of their base.
That's true. They still have to deal with 69 as well with the Corki. I believe he does have already his 2-item power spike on the board. Really nice bubble there, but still no towers down. Possibly the first one could be at the bottom portion of the map. Ocean Drake has spawned, so I believe Cut, after cleaning the base, after getting all the towers down, they're going ahead.
That's something that they can't consider ending as well, because with all 3 now down, they can fight freely inside the base without restraint. Of course, not wanting to stick too close to the Nexus, as that is the one big threat to them, not the champions, the base itself. Opting to back away here and look instead towards the Ocean Drake. I imagine they'll secure this, they'll go back, they'll have their last spend, and then they start looking for the kill.
It is going to be the Ocean Drake that Cut Esports are going to pursue right now, and GK has no choice, but to defend their base. And what are their options right now? Try to get a pick, because Cut is just way ahead. Again, their 5v5 is really incredibly strong, and what, 614, 542 already. So the jungle of GK, definitely not safe. It is the jungle of Cut now.
It's always the thing you look at in the early game is the aggressive potential of a team, right? How much action can they take to get themselves snowballing into the mid lane? If you don't take action with an aggressive comp, I'm thinking things like a Pantheon here as well, you know you're going to start falling behind. And you look at the side of Cut and think, okay, It's not a Lee Sin. You're not going to find something hyper-aggressive in the form of the Wukong, but they've managed to make it work because Boss has gone hyper-aggressive in every single fight. He's doing it again on the top side, always looking for catches. The Lee Sin, not long for this world. The Zhonya's comes out, the GA straight after, and in goes the Olaf. Doesn't care for your CC, doesn't care for your shields, doesn't care for your heals. He'll carry on all the way through if you give him chance, but he was just there as a zoning weapon. In they go. The Corki's going into the back line. One going dangerously though, finally finished off by the burn damage coming in. A double kill for 69. The Nexus, the last thing that stands between them and victory in game 1 of this best of 5.
Yeah, what a dominating victory coming from Cut Esports there. They were able to take control of the early game, get early kills, especially, again, that attempted gank coming from GK. They basically just turned it all around, unable to kill Boss, and now Boss basically roamed the jungle of GK and killed everyone.
Well, I'm sure there are plenty of clips for us to take a look back at from that game, Riku, but from what I understand, you've got one that really caught your eye in that game. So how about we go to the drawing board and you give us a breakdown of this play that you loved so much?
Yeah, let's start with the one with the Boss over here. This was the 1v2. Really nice Moonfall, by the way. Was able to get the dodge on towards the Saya, or rather this really nice, what do you call this? Featherstorm, rather. I was able to dodge Boss there. But still, at the end of the day, it is Boss just doing Boss things. He was way ahead, and it was crazy. It was crazy 1v4. Gotta take note that Seraphine Xenos was way over here, so it was technically a 3v1 scenario.
It's one of those that I look at and just think as the Diana. So often you're playing for the QE resets, right? You get the E charge down to someone with the debuff on, you get the reset, you can keep on dashing around. And it looked for a second like he was trying so hard to hold on to that. But when he uses it at the last second, gets the auto off, turns on the Graves and finishes that off, it's beautiful. Questions to ask again about the Lulu not quite being close enough. But those moments is kind of if I stay too close, I might die myself. I might steal the kill. No one really wants to be that guy. However, game 2, I hear, is pretty much ready for us. So shall we get into it, Riku? I think it's time. Here we go then. Game 2 underway very, very shortly here for us. Riku, same lineup as you've just seen. GK staying on the blue side, Cut staying on the red. I wonder if we see any ban changes coming through or a change in tactics coming out of either side. We spoke about that early aggression not really being there for the entire team of Cut, but they made it work even with that roster, and the Lee Sin, unfortunately, even at 8-2, could not do enough to keep his team alive in the mid game.
I feel like the bans coming from Cut will still be the same. It feels like they found the weak point of GK. Ban the Ashe, ban the Xin Zhao, ban the Akali. Just let them just get stuck in the ban phase, basically.
That's the dream here. But again, we've seen the Ashe and what it could do yesterday. I'd be very surprised if Cut suddenly choose to let that through. Indeed, they don't. First ban taken away. In fact, no, there is a side change, sorry. So Cut are on the blue side here. So maybe 1 or 2 changes in where Cut want to get hold of the Akali, but GK therefore should be the ones to ban it away.
Exactly, but this is the Corki now, being the second ban. That means they want the Akali first pick, perhaps? You're right, it is GK's pressure now to ban the Akali, because Risk had an amazing performance on the Akali last time when they first faced each other in day 1, and it was, it was one of the first losses that GK had suffered against Cut. We'll see, though, if Cut will take the bait, because if they pick the Akali first pick, that means GK can pick a Galio, can pick a Braum, and these are strong counters to an Akali.
When you say strong counters, there's only so much they can do, it feels like, when she's tearing through your backline and you can barely see her for more than half a second. They're truly going to go towards that themselves, with the Nami coming back out, followed in by the Diana. Very clearly sick of seeing what Boss can do with it and not wanting to ban it away themselves, choose to pick it up.
Yeah, Cut, look at that. They decided to take away the Olaf. Olaf, Tidal Wave, Nami, it's a really strong combo. Cut can actually pick up a Seraphine here if they want to do so. I think it's one of the best pairs with an Olaf because you propel with it. You get the shields, the heal, and make sure that the Olaf just stays alive. And you don't have to worry too much about Saya because of that self-peel. Wukong, of course, will be the best supplement for that Diana. We've seen that combo work in Cut Esports' composition from earlier, but this is different. A Zed, I definitely did not expect.
Yeah, I mean, GK is stealing away. Let's not forget as well the Diana Wukong there, so it's opting to deny that away. The Zed, I think, was played by Cut yesterday in their game, so I'm not super surprised to see it coming in here. And a similar story with the Riven. So some repeat picks coming out, admittedly mixed between the teams, but I like how that kind of strength of the previous roster, the Diana Wukong, has now moved over to the side of GK. The big question is, can they execute it anywhere near as well?
That's the biggest question. It's like they were taking different picks from each other and just sort of playing the deny game throughout the draft. So I'm excited to see this Diana Wukong work for GK and for Cut, this Zed pick as well. We'll see if the 1-3-1 will work out for their comp as well.
Maybe speaking a bit preemptively, you want to see it work out. Don't know if it will work out yet, but I know how we can find out, Riku, because Game 2 is ready. Let's get onto the Rift then and see how it shakes down. Some bans being followed through as if compared in the previous game, but again, this switcheroo in compositions. We'll see just how much damage that Zed can do against someone like Furax playing on the Kai'Sa.
Yeah, Furax will be that late game late game insurance rather for the whole squad. It works basically. This whole GK squad works like a 5v5 already, but they can operate as a 4-1 with Hazet doing again the split push later on, especially when he manages to get in the lane. He has a lot of utility as well at the later game with the stuns on the board, and as well as Xenon with Sultanas with the Cyclone and the Moonfall setting up for Furax again in the 20-minute mark onwards. For Cut Esports, though, this is a classic 1-3-1 with Risk and Boss just doing the split pushing in the side lanes, and with 69 and Teemos being incredibly balanced with both engage and disengage as well. So I'm curious to see how that turns out.
I really want to see a scrap in this mid lane early as well. Whoa, look at the aggression on the top side. Risk being bullied out by Hazit on the Riven. As you come to expect, at least in the early game, the trade potential of the Riven a bit stronger than what you'd see coming out of, say, the Akali. But again, going in for this one. Knows that Risk is lurking off towards the side here. Hits the second or third knock-up as well. Beautiful stuff. Risk down low and without a plant on side. Has got to play this one a little more carefully.
Yeah, level 1 is definitely tough. Level 3 will be tougher for Risk over here. You do have a little bit of poke, safety for that wave clear, but Hazet will have the complete combo and can easily stun you. Good news is that Hazet not carrying Ignite.
Oh, Furax, not like this. Not like this.
Not
Ignite
again.
came through, but has the flash if he needed it as well. Opted not to, but it's Teemos flashing away. Sultanas is down here doing work, whether it's Lee Sin or Wukong. Knows how to get himself involved and will pick up first blood for GK.
Nicely done coming from GK over there. Is able to save Furax's life as well, only being able to consume a barrier, being able to keep that flash in. Tamola having to consume this heal. But at the end of the day, they still get first blood. And of course, that is something that they do want. We'll see, though, where they transition that lead. As, again, for Cut, they're looking into this mid to late game for sure. And we'll see if either Risk gets ahead, because he's having a hard time in this Riven matchup.
Very hard time, yeah. I mean, you see what Hazard's been doing is just bullying him every single time he steps into the lane. I kind of see it as how Diana ends up playing in most range matchups, right? It's the first 5 levels, you're expecting to get beaten on a fair bit, but over time, you'll find yourself getting more comfortable. You get your item on, you hit your level 5. Here, a replay coming in as well, worth mentioning, of Furax walking away on a slither of HP. Teemos really convinced that he could get the kill, but absolutely not the case, and sure enough, grants first blood over to GK.
Yeah, gotta love that level 3 spike coming from 69 and Teemos. It's basically the go signal for them to keep initiating onto Furax, but they didn't have much vision provided as Sultanas was able to get that gank over. We'll see, though, maybe if 1v1 over here, as Xenon doesn't have too much mana, but in the bot lane.
Yeah, one of those you're looking at and thinking maybe there's something to come out. Absolutely not so far, but for 69, just wants to be a bit cautious here, I think. The ult is down, the heal is gone, has the flash on side still if needed, but knowing you're only against a Nami, probably not the kind of thing you want to be investing at this point, I guess. I mean, this bot lane on the side of GK, not yet even level 5.
Yeah, there's not going to be that shield provided for the Kai'Sa. Let's take a look at that again. It's actually Tamola having to get that bubble in for that engage. And the fact that, you know, the Olaf was actually lingering nearby, he's not even needed. It's just, there's a lot of feathers, there's that root.
Uh-oh. I mean, it's the Zed doing Zed things as well. Oh, the bubble might be absolutely massive, and the ult interrupt as well. Still hits the Shuriken, but Furax is there, picks up a trade back on the other side. Great play coming out of the Nami. Sure, not living alive at the end, but came pretty damn close. Now Risk in the top side. Great, perfect execute to get away on the backside, but Sultanas, he was feeling a dive then for a second. Risk needs to watch himself, because I guarantee you, a dive could be on the agenda.
Yeah, Sultanas actually circling around here, so this is possible. Risk still has flash, though.
They're going all the way in for this one as well. The ult comes out, surely. Yes, it does. But Risk, a great flash away. Enough to keep himself alive and forces flash. I believe Ada has it on the top side. So, good outcome overall. More for the side of Risk than anyone else. So, for Cut, small benefit in the top lane.
Yeah, they're able to get a lot out of that, being able to burn out 2 flashes from Hazed and Sultanos. This will not be available in the upcoming fight. Let's see if GK, or rather Cut, will decide to fight for this one.
Yeah, really want to get a fight on this one now. Dragon has found itself going down, so all the attention turns up towards this top side. And sure enough, Teemos going in, charging into the front line. Boss following in. Can they bring down Xenon off the backside of it? Because they're taking away the Herald. No kills coming in their way, but securing that neutral objective, massive for Cut.
Yeah, they're able to basically take advantage of, oh, hold that thought.
I mean, hello? Furax?
Furax?
Not really the spot that you want to be in here. I mean, sure enough, it should be Teemos trying to chase this one down. Surely you can't get the finish off here. Ignite had already been consumed, did have the flash, but I think without vision of what's going on in the blue jungle, you don't want to go too deep. That'd probably be Xenon on the top side burning away. I think, no! Down to a slither of HP. It could have been a kill going the way of Cut, but they'll take the top tower. Herald marches on forward. They won't be complaining about that, but look at Xenon. Slither of HP. You can't even see his HP bar anymore, Riku.
It's incredibly low. He was able to at least be able to live, and again, high value off that Rift Herald. That's 2 charges at least towards the inner tower, and Cut will definitely be happy about that one. Furax was a little bit too close there earlier as he Killer Instinct aggressively. Teemos arrived just in time, but now looks like it is just still Teemos and 69 very comfortable in this lane, making Sultanos actually check in from time to time and see if they can relieve pressure for Furax and Tamola.
Alrighty. I mean, he's doing great work. I've got to hand it over to Sultanos. Sure, the numbers might not necessarily reflect how well he's doing so far, but I do feel that he is getting involved all across the board. It feels like every time there's a fight on the go, he's involved in some way, shape, or form. Of course, it's a pretty low kill game so far, so you're not seeing the numbers really building up in his favor, but if he carries on playing the way that he has so far, I imagine you will see just that, him getting up on the leaderboard, getting more gold like he did in the previous game, building up for a wicked combo with this Diana, who already sitting at about 4,500 gold, is slowly walking towards, well, has the Aurora on side, but no doubt now stepping in towards either the Nash's or the Death Cap.
Yeah, they're still not able to find these opportunities. And look at that, Furax. Oh, poor Furax. This is like a repeat of game number 1. And now Risk loses the 1v1 against Hazed.
Not sure about that one, mate. I mean, fine. You want to try and take the fight, but sure enough, Hazard comes out on top, bottom side. You were looking towards boss, and the magic that he was working. No flash away from Furax was interesting. The barrier has come offline while he was dead. Sorry, not flash. The ultimate that he had on the side. So I was thinking earlier on, well, why this? How can this play against a Zed? And you do look towards the Ult of the Zyra. It can be quite a beefy shield as the game goes on as well, but not even brought out in that instance to try and keep himself alive.
Yeah, I think Furax will definitely invest on an Hourglass here. An Hourglass enchant. They're chasing. They want revenge.
But there's no ult on side. That's not the kind of flash you want to invest there. Furax, he was so hungry to get something. And now knowing he hasn't got that for the next fight, and, looking towards the dragon, for example, that's going to be a stinger.
Yeah, he was basically separated from Tamola there and just couldn't get away. He had no way to escape that collapse coming from Cut Esports. And yeah, you're right. Infernal Drake is going to be spawning soon, and that flash will be very valuable and will not be available. Risk with the 1v1, actually no, a 1v2, he pretty much,
wow.
He won that 1v2-ish, but Hazed was there to linger around in the to get the kill.
Ate up for the one for one, yeah, for sure. And already you're seeing that damage building up on Risk side as well. Sultanos, the one who was paying the price, probably screaming has its name of, why didn't you help me out? You were happy to get the kill once I was already dead. Yeah, I understand, but it could have been a pretty painful double kill had that perfect execute come through with the second half to cleave through both members. 10 seconds down the straight, the Diana up on the top side of Carly rising up to meet her. Might see a back or two coming in for the side of GK, but the question is, do they want to fight this one at all? They are down about 4,500 gold, and that is no small margin.
In a 5v5 scenario, GK should be able to be more comfortable as long as they layer the CCs correctly with the Moonfall and the Cyclone.
Want to try and finish off the Drake here. The smite didn't come through at the end. Sultanos, though, does come in and takes it away. The fight breaks out. Has it sat in the middle with a big sword, but no idea how to use it. All the tools, but no clue. Xenon coming in for the follow-up as well off the back of it. 2 kills going the way of GK. However, it was the one side of Cut.
Yeah, they were able to get that Infernal Drake and steal that away from Cut. It's basically a 1-for-1 revenge, stealing the Rift Herald off of them. And now GK is going to be happy getting that Infernal Drake. Big bonus damage on side that they will gladly have. And I feel like Cut really needed that, considering, again, they're opting for this 1-3-1. And let's see how that steal went. It was just basically the dash coming from the Wukong and towards the Smite. Really done coming from GK, and then basically all they had to do, Moonfall in, Olaf gets caught out, and they had no way to escape. Their disengage is a little bit awkward because it's non-existent, as 69 again does have that Feather Storm, and that's the only thing that he can rely on.
Zenon, I think as well, by the way, you feel like you're landing the perfect Moonfall, everyone flashes away, and you're like, god damn it, why do they still have flash? Boss here in the back line did look like he was going to get away, but the engage going in with the ult, make sure that he gets finished off. Timu's now the one looking low. You got Risk on the front line still. Oh, saves it on for the E and connects onto the Kai'Sa. It's going to be a meltdown for the side of GK. Cut, slicing their way through, finding 3 kills. Sure, they lost 2, but now they can focus on this tower. What can Xenon do by himself? Moonfall comes out, not quite enough damage, buddy. Shall not get the finish off, and this should be a tower going down. Although one goes back, Risk almost burning out too. That could have been disastrous. You've still got Hazard in the bot lane, by the way, going for this first bottom tower, and it would be GK's first tower of the whole game.
Yeah, that could have been a double kill. That could have been disastrous, just as you mentioned. But at the end of the day, it was Timu's getting a lot of the tower aggro, at least being able for Risk to survive that one turret hit. In the meantime, most of Firax, he's fine.
Nah, he's okay. He's fine.
Too close though. Very, very close. Still no Zhonya's Hourglass at the moment. Still having to invest more of that gold for more damage. Again, they're hoping GK having to rely on that late game power insurance in the form of Firax here on the Kai'Sa. But so far, there are so many assassin threats that can come for Firax's life. Risk over here just getting a lot of kills from earlier, already 3-1-1 with the Rabadons. And I think, you know, it is Tamola's job to try their best to protect Firax.
It's kind of been the silent scaler in the top lane because we saw the pressure that he was under from the Riven in the early game, and at this point 1500 gold down, sure, sat on 2 items, but that Akali already moving in towards 3 and quite oppressive even just at that 2 item mark. Bearing in mind it's not a full 2 items at this point as well because the guy's only being half built. Deathcap essentially has been the full completed item, but the massive AP spike that gives you is one to behold and one to be very, very terrified of. Look at Timus all the way into the back, engaging onto 3. In goes the Zed onto the back. Maybe not the target that you want. It's the Nami that goes down. This fish has been fried, but what more damage can they do? Turning in towards the back line. The perfect execute across the back does a lot of work, but getting himself melted out. They are going to burn their way through both the Akali and the Zed. A double kill for Firax before finally being taken down. Xenon and Hazard, the last 2 left alive, but Cut, they walk away with 3 still standing.
Yeah, they took out Tamola right off the bat. That means no protection for Firax. There we go. Firax buys that Zhonya's Hourglass enchant, but at the same time, Cut is able to start this dragon, Baron rather, but the teleport is coming in.
All right then, at least some kind of contest being established, I think, or at least scaring them away enough that they won't commit into it. But here's the replay, Riku. Massive engage coming in from the Rakan.
Yeah, that's a really nice knock-up, really nice charm. Their target was Tamola, removing any of the utility off of GK there. And it's basically GK just wanting to run away, but Cut, the chase potential of this composition is just too much. We got to see Risk getting, a shutdown on towards Firax there before going down. And it has been a 3-for-2 in favor of Cut. At least, though, GK is able to stop the Baron take.
Alrighty, look at this, so the pressure coming in. GK trying to find what they can. Here's this Drake's down to about 2.5k HP. Steal attempt may try and come through, but not at all going to be a thing. It's Sultanos, the one trying to burn his way through, and into the back line goes the Zed. Again, focusing on the Nami. This guy must really, really like sushi, I think, Riku, as the rest of the team tear their way through. 2 kills apiece, but it's going to be GK the ones walking away as the winner. Risk down to basically no HP, no cooldowns to keep himself alive, and the Zed has fled to the mid lane, looking to burn his way down through a tower. The mid 2 still standing, which might find themselves getting melted down. Firax, he's looking for the inhibitor tower.
Yeah, for sure. This is just going to go down. No one to defend. There's a lot of death timers on to Cut, so this is going to hurt them a lot. Imagine, again, this composition from Cut, they're not ready for these 5v5s. That is GK's strength. So as much as possible, they want GK to split up, make sure that they can isolate the targets. And now they're having a hard time at this point of the game. As we get to see, though, it is still Cut having that 3k lead, but their bottom tower is almost close.
I think a bit of an underestimation, sorry, by GK there. So many cannons stacked around. A couple more shots from the Kai'Sa would have seen that tower going down, but here's that fight again.
Yeah, it's a secure on the Ocean Drake, but again, Cut Esports' composition not ready for this 5v5. We've seen how they managed to try to split up the fight, but again, the strength of the Wombo combos, such as the Cyclone in these congested areas, I suppose, in near the Dragon Pit, is not the situation that Assassins would love to have.
I mean, another scrappy one. For a while, like Cut were the ones pulling way far ahead when they had that 6k gold lead, but here it has been brought down to about 4k or so. GK even on kills, behind on a single tower, but the two Drakes currently sat with the side of Cut as we start looking towards that Elder that will come on in a few minutes' time. Baron going to be the focus until then. That's where you're going to see a lot of these skirmishes kicking off. Risk taking a risk and trying to play the dangerous game of death. Finds himself down to about half HP, but does escape with that blast cone.
He's using himself as, what, a 2-in-1, a human ward and a human hotspot for GK to sort of scatter, as we see the 1-3-1 already on the board here, as looks like T-Buzzy's going to be fine. He has that mobility, I suppose, to escape any of the scary bubbles that the Mole is going to dish out. But here, though, it's Rabadon's already in the hands of Xenon, so his move balls are going to hurt a lot more.
One of those that I look at and just think it only takes one person to get caught out for this all to completely fall apart. Featherstorm coming out the last second. A couple of ults being burnt out there. In fact, 3 on the side of Cut. So GK could look at this and say, opportunity opened up. We've got flashes, we've got ults, we have the engage, and they've lost the vast majority of their tools to deal with us. Really good response coming out by GK.
Yeah, Hourglass already burnt, but just as you mentioned, there's still a bunch of summoner spells available. So that safety from Firax is still there. Cut, or rather Risk, and as well as Boss, will definitely have a hard time finding the carry. Now at this point of the game, we're starting to close in on the 20-minute mark, where the threat will shift from Xenon and now definitely onto Firax. We'll see, though, how they maneuver around it, especially, you know, Baron could be the game-changing deal. As Cut, for sure, they had the early lead, but they're slowly losing it, especially in these 5v5 situations.
It's all about this isolation off to the side. I mean, Hazard needs to be careful here. He shows himself, and now Risk knows, and I think Risk could be able to tear through if he's not too careful. And sure enough, I think Hazard identifying some of that himself, not wanting to get into a big scrap with this Akali. I mentioned that one single kill would be enough. There's TP on both of these laners. If they do want to join this fight, they can. But if anyone gets caught out, isolated, picked off, that will be the go sign for the other team.
Yeah, even has teleport.
Look, he's gone for it again. He's going for the fish. The man, I keep on saying, really wants his fish dinner being set up for him. But Nami this time not taking enough damage for it to be any great threat. But again, for GK, a small opportunity opened. You've got Boss without his ultimate on side. What damage can they do?
Yeah, the cooldown of Boss's ult is incredibly short. So they're trying to...
It's 3/4 done already.
Exactly. Another fight?
Yep, getting traded on by Xenon. Admittedly, the Ignite came out too. A great ult coming out from the Wukong, mind you. Traded back in the other side. In goes the Olaf and tears his way through. They really hate this Nami, it feels like, Riku, but they're tearing in through the middle of these fights. Low HP bars everywhere on the side of GK. I think they've done enough. It's the Akali late game, boys. We've arrived there. He's level 14, a triple kill to come through, and the ace for the side of Cut. They could try and push on for the end here. The pings signify as much. There is 30 seconds before the Nami returns to the field. This should be game end.
Yeah, this is an AD carry still alive from 69. They're able to just try to clear the waves and head straight to the base. Even Risk going towards the top side to clear and get more room to get the minions crashing down towards the Nexus. And yeah, the first one to go out is Thamola, but what can he do?
Nothing. Seemingly nothing. I mean, with how much he's been focused this game, it has not been a pleasant time for him on the Rift, that is for sure. But at the 18-minute mark, it's going to be Cut finally besting GK in what was a good response from GK, but not enough to get the win.
Cut is so close to getting that revenge against GK. Again, it was a 2-1 between these two teams at day number 1 of the Origin series for August. And now we get to see this, you know, this start for Cut. They're looking to take back the championship title.
Yeah, again, we didn't want them going in towards the championship with the idea in their mind of, well, GK were better than us in the last day, and they're showing here that they mean business, that they are the team to be representing Group C when it comes round to that championship. Let's get these highlights up as well, because it was a game that was bloodthirsty from start to finish, it felt, Riku. We said early on, these games sometimes start quite peaceful until the first straight comes online. These teams completely disagreed.
Yeah, there's a lot of level 3 spikes here, especially with Teemos in 69's lane. Akaisa is incredibly very unprotected, I suppose, especially without the level 5. So this was basically the go signal, basically where the action went. And unfortunately, at the first, 10 minutes of the game, Firax was almost always isolated. And if there's a mid lane Zed, usually it's so easy to roam to the side lanes. It's easy to set up these dives because you have Teemos there with the knockups and the setups.
One of those that looks so scrappy again throughout. It really took a while for Risk to come online, the early game being bullied out by the Riven. Xenon seeing the similar sort of playstyle coming out from what we saw from Boss, admittedly a little drawn back on the aggression. We spoke about the damage that was done in the previous game by Boss. Didn't quite have the same effect coming out of GK because they were behind for the vast majority of the game. But again, Sultanos, another fantastic performance. He is the superstar of this team, it feels like, on the jungler so far. But they need something else from the rest of the team if they're going to be able to fight their way back in.
Yeah, it was a really nice steal on that Infernal Drake. He was completely focused, but these Cyclone setups were magnificent at, the 13-minute mark. He's able to get that double kill. But unfortunately, didn't really get to transition that. Firax was, the primary target, and as well as Thamola to make sure that there's no protection. This is the last fight that we saw. We got to see Firax with a killer instinct, basically free hitting, but he flashes forward. Therefore, he doesn't have any sort of defensive spells available, and it was just Risk cleaning up house here in the last fight.
Late game Akali is just disgusting. Very little you can do because she thrives in the chaos. She hides from the chaos and then strikes when everyone sits in pretty low. Wasn't a pretty game overall for GK. Maybe game 3 will go a little bit better for them. Let's get into it. Lots to work on in this game, I feel, Riku. We keep on talking about the damage being done by Sultanos in the jungle position, but as it stands, it just has not been enough.
Yeah, I feel like, GK, Sultanos, they miss the Xin Zhao pick. They miss that being unleashed into the Rift. So right now, Cut seems to be very comfortable with this setup, just banning out the Ashe, just banning out the Xin Zhao, the big picks that enable GK success towards day 1 and defeating them.
Absolutely. Well, I hear that game 3 is pretty much ready for us to get into, so we'll take a look at those pick and bans in just a moment. It's one of those, again, that we may well see that Ashe and Xin Zhao ban coming through pretty much straight away. From the side of Cut, it's been the go-to thing. Question for me is they now ban away that Akali, given they're now on the red side once again.
Yeah, I feel like Cut will not allow the Akali to push through unless GK. We'll see though if what the focus is going to be. I bet Gragas will still be taken out of the equation. For Cut, I won't see any changes here. It's going to be the Ashe. It's going to be the Xin Zhao. Every single pick that worked out in again that was successful for GK. Curious to see if GK is going to opt for an Olaf composition this time, because in the draft in the first game they picked the Olaf really late. Never mind, as they banned it themselves.
Understandably right. I mean, Risk had a field day with it back in game 1. We saw the effects of it in the previous game as well. And indeed, there is that Akali that we were so worried about. So mostly unchanging bans again, most sticking to what they've seen been abused in the past by either side. Galio going to be the first lock-in coming out for GK.
I love this. This means this could be a Diana setup. GK can opt for a Galio, Wukong, Diana. And this just works so well. Diana can survive a little bit more with the hero's entrance, and the big wombo combo will be available for them. So Cut, if they decide to go for another 1-3-1, which is very possible with the Camille getting locked in, either could go for top side or in the jungle, we still don't know. For GK, I feel like a Renekton top can be possible, as well as a Lee Sin Renekton combo can be incredibly strong and potentially snowbally.
Also, I think had a bit too much fun on the Zed in that previous game, enough that he wants to bring it out again. Great pick against the Varus as well, who, as we know, very exposed in that backline unless the support is given. And Zed, relatively mobile at dealing with that. Now, you mentioned about the Renekton coming out. Here it is, coming in for GK. So pretty solid front line, looking at the Galio, looking at the Renekton, rounding things out with the Seraphine, because why the hell not?
Yeah, the Seraphine is going to be there. Usually, Varus is paired with a Nami just to compensate for how low mobile this champion is, but Malphite will be picked with the matchup against the Renekton.
All right, I mean, we've seen Malphite picked up around the world here and there, but never super consistently by any particular team, I would wager, but massive in these team fights. And now immediately, my attention turns towards the pick potential on the side of Cut. You've got the Camille ult coming in, the Zed ult on top of that. If the Malphite has to get involved, he can. A tidal wave from the Nami into a bubble. There is so much lockdown potential here that I worry that the Varus is even going to make it out of a single one of these fights inside the first 3 seconds.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's going to be definitely a vulnerable Varus in this game. So the Seraphine will have to do a lot of work to try and see and provide that movement speed to make sure that the Unstoppable Force and the Hextech Ultimatum wouldn't reach him.
Well, time will tell. Game 3 is ready, so let's get on to the Rift and see what changes in this game. Will it be the clean sweep 3-0 for Cut, or of GK finally going to find themselves a response?
Yeah, the reverse sweep could be possible, and see where GK sort of lands without the Ashe pick, without the Xin Zhao pick. And now they're opting for this really strong jungle top duo. We'll see if Hazet can get ahead in this game and snowball out of control. And in the meantime, they've got a lot of AoEs on the board with Xenon on the taunt. Galio is really good against assassins here, so Boss should be careful with his ult and his timings to engage on the squishies such as Firax.
Quietly very excited to see how Risk does, because he's been pretty aggressive in the last couple of games. Let's not forget the Akali tearing through the backline in the previous game, the first one on the Olaf, charging his way in. Not that Malphite can't be aggressive, and often he is in team fights. It's one thing I will give to Risk. You haven't really seen him go hyper aggressive in lanes and really try and win out the 1 versus 1. He's played for the team fights, and that's where his impact has been. So although it's not a hyper aggressive carry champion, it plays out probably much the same way in his terms of playstyle.
Yeah, I love how you brought that up, because we usually see Risk in these highly mechanical champions with a high ceiling, rather. So it's really a breath of fresh air to see him, step back a little bit, be that utility, be that heavy engage for Cut Esports. Not playing a Darius perhaps and win that level 1 possibly against Hazet on the Renekton. But this time it's a little bit different. You can survive a little bit more. It's kind of hard to dive, I suppose, meanwhile in the bottom lane.
I mean, it's Sultanas doing what Sultan. The root coming in could have been enough, but not quite enough damage from those notes to finish off the job. But we speak about Sultanas, or we have spoken about Sultanas all of this series long, and it is still continuing here in Game 3. The early game aggression working out well, but in comes the Camille from the side here, focusing on to Tamola. Flashes away, flash forward to try and deal with it down, but I think he's given up on this one. He's not quite sure. He's in and out. Sultanas not quite wanting to follow it all the way up. Bit of a scrappy affair, but no one going down as both mid laners down to about 50 HP.
What was the flash?
I mean, okay. That happened.
That was unfortunate for Boss. I feel like he just wanted to kill onto Xenon. That's why he pushed really, really further into the lane, opening him up into a Sultanas finish. That's going to be first blood in favor of GK here. And yeah, I feel like that was a little risky. Oh. Look at him go!
I mean, look at the counter engage there as well. I mean, the ult in, the flash out, does enough to keep himself alive. Sure, it scares, has it away. And I think the same for Sultanas there, who could have followed up and finding himself a kill, maybe. But tower would have been the big danger. Here's that replay of this midline kerfuffle that everything kicked off around.
This is a little risky for Cut, because remember, 69 already pretty much consumed all his summoner spells, so he's going to be extremely vulnerable. And yeah, Boss, a little bit on the greedy side of things, wanted that kill onto Xenon. I mean, having a first kill, solo kill, especially against the Galio, would be huge as a Zed. But unfortunately, Sultanas getting that kill means Sultanas can transition that into the side lanes, especially top side. You want to get Hazet ahead, and possibly mid lane will be the next one again.
I mean, nice dodge away, but guess where you've landed yourself? Oh, it's brought you back to me. Boss finds himself shortly going down here. Tries to get for the trade in. The Camille doing enough here. Support coming in from the Galio. Gets the knock up as well. Surely the Camille can do something. No, she cannot. GK, a great start to this game. Now 2K in the lead.
Yeah, they were hungry for that kill. They were hungry to get that 1-for-1 trade. But at the end of the day, it was a 1v3 scenario. And it was the layering of CC that Cut Esports are definitely not prepared for. And now it's a very awkward start. You have 0-2-0 and 0-1-0 for the jungler and the mid lane. And GK having a field day, especially Sultanas getting the early lead. We're looking into non-stop ganks here, especially if the laning phase is going to be a little bit slow. Now Dragon's going to be spawning soon. Mountain Drake versus Rift Herald. GK can get a kill at the bottom lane, then get the Dragon, get that reset, possibly go for the Rift Herald to take 2 objectives.
feel like a broken record player at this point, but it carries on the same way. We were always talking about Sultanas as well. He's the one getting involved in all of these lane ganks, picking up kills, creating pressure around the map. I imagine on the side of Cut, you're sitting there thinking, I really don't want to get involved with this guy. He's just an absolute nightmare. And looking here in this fight, the big pressure is going to come from Risk and coming from the Corki. They've got that isolation power. The ult's not yet back online for the Zed Camille, mind you, but the engage goes in. Can they find anything off the back of it? Great ult coming across straight away through the whole team. Not quite enough. Package through the middle. Cut 69 to the side as well. Has it. Dangerously low. Will find himself going down. The ults are back online and they are being rolled out. Camille comes online as well. Finish off the dunk onto the Varus. A double kill coming in. Sultanas back in. A flash away from the Camille. Will keep himself alive. But considering they were fighting from behind, that is a huge team fight win for Cut.
And that is going to be equalized, basically. There's just still 4 people alive. Boss and Risk and 69 pretty much low. 69 doesn't have mana as well, so that means Cut can't pursue this dragon, and they have to get that reset. Let's take a look at that again. It was a fight that Cut was ready to take. After the on-card kicking in, Hazet decided to flash in, but he was pretty much trapped and was funneled by the rest of Cut Esports there. And it was basically cleanup duty. Really nice bubble coming from the Nami over there. And I mean, Sultanas wanted to get more kills possibly, but the passive was pretty clutch from the Camille. And now it could be take 2 on this fight.
It could have been a big difference as well as Sultanas' ultimate had come out a little bit early there. He saved it right until the dying moments to use on the Malphite, who was just up in his face and being a nuisance rather than posing a massive threat to say his team's carries. But another ult could break out here as well. One going down, the ultimate coming in from the Galio on top. But the man he was protecting was about to get burnt out. He's done great. Torn onto 3. The ult coming back in from Risk to try and go for interruption, but it's simply not enough. The close down will come in from GK. They'll find barely anything back in response. 3-1 against Cut.
Beautiful setup coming from Xenon there. That was a massive 4-man taunt that enabled GK to layer CC. You get the chain of corruptions down as well. Therefore, Cut really has no choice but to wait till everything expires and basically you're dead. And yeah, that is pretty much welcomed. Cut, though, is able to get the first dragon of the game and as well as the first blood tower as Camille was busy split pushing at the bottom portion of the map.
That was GK walking away with that first tower blood. You are right in that case. And now they turn their attention off towards the Rift Herald. And we can use that, of course, in other lanes to try and pile it on. But the pressure being applied by Cut. Ult comes across, lands onto 2. This could be the follow-up they need here, trying to go in. Risk just managing to dodge away. But look at the damage they're being peppered with. They're on the run here. Riku, they might be able to get some damage in. Boss comes in as well. More ults being stacked across. The tidal wave running ever so slightly wide. And they do keep themselves alive. They do walk away. But my God, was it close.
It's too close. Look at 69, though.
Oh, my God. He's gone back in again. Surely not. Surely they can't get the cleanup here. So Cut 69. He's gone down 2. 2 kills coming in against Cut. 2 for the side of GK. And now 1 trying to come back in. The response has it on his own here. Can they try and make anything happen? It's the Camille looking to do a little bit of damage, but doesn't want to stick around for too long. Lest the CC chain comes in. It's going to be enough. Surely they'll clean him up as well. Walks away. The flash ball coming in from Sultanas, who's now dominating the game. Gets the shutdown. The final kill coming in. Cut biting off more than they can chew.
Sultanas is godlike right now. He is massive in this game. And Cut, it felt like an awkward retreat, going the dangerous route to the mid lane. And I want to see that again. It all started over here. They managed to get a pick. Tamala was incredibly low. And look at this, 69 going the dangerous way onto the mid lane. Therefore, he's easily going to get sandwiched by Xenos with a taunt. And this enabled a reset of the fight that GK is gladly, they gladly took. And this is, again, the Camille wanting to get an exchange kill, of course, because Sultanas is pretty low. They want that bounty on Sultanas for sure. But they kept pushing. It was a 1v3 scenario. Hextech Ultimatum will not save you there. And now Sultanas is godlike.
A little bit of an overinvestment is probably the best way to describe it, I think, coming in. It's unfortunate, but for Cut, slowly finding themselves making more and more mistakes. However, look at the mistakes now being made, because Boss, he's doing what Boss does best. Gets into the back line, tries to do some damage, even gets away. Surely he doesn't walk away alive from this one, but that's exactly what's going to happen. Gets out with the kill, dodges the Seraphine ultimate. That's a great kill coming out from Boss onto Furax.
Yeah, this is their composition. They've managed just finding picks here and there. It seems like a swap of concepts over here, as Hazet might get 1v2'd, but he's going to run away. He's going to be safe for now. But Cut can keep doing this. Just finding Firax. Actually, this is the third game already where Cut just funnels onto Firax and finding him in the map, just trying to bother him in the side lanes as well. And it has worked so far in game number 1 and game number 2. Now we'll see slowly, especially at the 15-minute mark, the 1-3-1s arrive. You know, Camille will split push as well alongside with Boss. Now, 28 seconds on the clock for the next Ocean Drake to spawn, and we'll see, because GK, they're comfortable in these 5v5s, but Cut, they can get a pick, make it a 4v5, and then engage onto the Dragon.
It's just aggression fueled from start to finish between these two teams. All 3 games have gone that way, and this one isn't slowing down. We come back from a replay of a fight where 5 people died, and you've got Boss going deep in the back line trying to make some kills happen. It's unbelievable, whereas this time round, the kills will happen around an objective. Second Drake is on the field. It is this Ocean, and already being started by Cut.
Yeah, GK has the Rift Herald, so if they want to apply pressure while going to the Dragon, they can send it towards the mid lane, like what's happening right now. Sultana's getting a little bit aggressive there with a safeguard. We'll have to see. It's down. No value, sadly.
And now they're trying to force that. Oh, the Seraphine hits the back of the Renekton and spreads through the rest of the team, but doesn't quite connect onto the ones they want. Massive knockup coming in as well, I think, from the Galio, connecting onto 4.
Whoa.
This is a meltdown coming in. GK collecting the kills that they want, and now it's 1 on the run. Surely can't get away from the Lee Sin here, still walking his way away, down to a slither of HP, and sure enough, finished off by Sultanos. GK are fighting their way back in, but what makes me slightly nervous is they are only 3.5k in the lead.
Yeah, everything just went to Sultanos. So basically, if Cut eliminates the Lee Sin, then they can be in a comfortable fight. He's pretty much low, but he's going to be fine. They're able to secure that Baron for themselves, and they can start sieging and open up the map. Let's take a look at that again. It is the Rift Herald being the bait for that engage for GK over there. And look at that. Everyone is pretty much low. The Unstoppable Force didn't find too much value over there. And the 69 using the Valkyrie aggressively, using the package aggressively for the rest of Cut for the retreat didn't go well.
And look, already there's another fight underway. Rift looking for a big ultimate as well. Has got it on side and ready to go for the engage. But of course, it's all about the straight resets. Starts recovering some HP. GK, despite winning that last fight, have been forced away from this one as well. Don't want to get themselves caught up in the fight, and it will be taken away by Cut. That's a little bit unexpected, and sure, the Baron may be on the side of GK, but you look at that and say, surely they don't lose it away. Maybe they were just too afraid of losing the Baron buff here and wanted to keep hold of it. Because now you've got Xenon trying to provide pressure off towards the bot lane.
Yeah, that's true. They just want to utilize and maximize this Baron buff. It would be a waste if they did the Dragon Dance and wasted all the Baron buff just doing Unstoppable Force.
Big engage coming through, same in the mid lane as well. They're going back in onto the Renekton here as well. Can the Croc stop?
Oh,
no, he cannot. Carrying on his way forward. Cut comes in. Now, what else can they do? 69 almost found 1, but now he's being focused by Sultanos in the back line. They do get the burn through, and Hazard walks away with a slither of HP to his name. Xenon goes down, so it's 1 for 1. You really feel like Cut should have come off that one worse.
Yeah, GK, I believe Firax missed his chain of corruptions there, so Cut was pretty confident in entering and engaging in that fight. But at the end of the day, they didn't get a kill onto GK over there, or rather, they didn't get a kill on towards Hazet, who's able to survive. We'll see, though, as the Baron is going to slowly expire, but GK is able to get value off of that, as that's 2 inner towers down already for the count.
Alrighty. See how things progress forward from here, because you know GK are in the driving seat. Sure, the Baron has expired, but they use it to grow their gold lead up to just shy of 8,000 gold. They are slowly starting to walk their way through, and this was bearing in mind as well a 1-3-1 split push. And look at the engage on the bottom. We did see this one play out on our screens, and really for Xenon, it was getting a little bit cheeky. It's holding around in a 1 versus 2, and you've got barely anything left to actually fight with. And sure enough, the good trade plays out. Malphite securing the kill.
It was, I would say a little bit awkward, I suppose, because Xenon was definitely needed for the team. If you want to get a 1-3-1 setup, it's supposed to be Sultanos on the side and Hazet on the side as well. So, you know, he is definitely needed with the rest of the squad to come in. But I understand it, though, because there's the hero's entrance to easily fly to people and join your squad. And now for Cut, there's still hope. There's still 69 coming in with the Solari Charge Blade, looking still on the 3rd item, perhaps, maybe an Infinity Edge to help more with the massive crits. And for now, it's still a lot of space to work with for GK.
Still feel nervous when I see that it's 13,000 gold, nearly 13.5 sat on the Lee Sin here. Is this the one that you really want to see currently sat in a position with all that gold, all the itemization, knowing that the later this game gets in, the more he falls off. And sure, has an impact with the kick, but would you rather have, say, the Camille with the isolation power, the Malphite with the ultimate, or, in this case, a Lee Sin? Makes me a little bit nervous. We'll see, though, as a collapse potentially coming into the mid lane. The Zed slightly overextended possibly here, but they're going all the way in. Not quite the ult they were looking for. Sultanas has to flash away. This has been a bit of a messy engage coming out of the boys. In comes the counter engage with the ult. Sorry, the ult coming in out of the Nami. Tidal wave, not quite doing enough, but a big ult coming out of Risk. Lands onto 2, and they are fighting this so well cut. They're burning their way through the front line. They're melting down health bars. Great Taunt coming in, and surely it's not the turnaround for GK. Looks like it might be, but Boss in the back line, melting down a couple of members. A messy engage going completely astray for the side of GK. They went a bit too far, and Cut have made them pay.
I love how Cut always finds Firax, and Hazet may be the next one to fall, but really nice flash there to dodge the last rocket from 69. But they find their target again. They find Damola, they find Firax. And with that, GK only has to rely on Sultanos, which is a Lee Sin. But sometimes at the later stages of the game, a Lee Sin may eventually fall off.
Absolutely. I mean, here we go as well. Now they're trying to really press the advantage forward, and they find themselves 2 kills. Boss, let's not be cheeky. Let's not be too cheeky, because you know what Sultanos can do if he wanted to safeguard forward. Makes himself out alive as well. And Boss, I'm telling you, he'll pay for it at some point. And like I said, why would you hang around? Loses his life, and when it looked like Cut might be fighting their way back in, gets a little bit cocky and pays the price.
Damage.
Even trying the same coming out of the Camille, but she will make it away only just. Cut now once again on the back foot because of a massive blunder coming out of Boss.
Yeah, that's 30 seconds of death timers. That means Cut loses their chance in contesting the dragon. Exactly. So GK will happily take this and even create more space to focus more on top side, apply vision. Let's take a look at that again. It was a very, very messy fight. We get to see Firax being focused on by the Camille, and now he's incredibly low. That means, Risk can just take action and use the unstoppable force with no fear at all. And basically no AD carry means no consistent damage. Hazet, after the Dominus would expire, means he's going to be incredibly squishy. That means GK must run away. Cut is very happy to get that pick off of Firax in that skirmish, in that team fight rather.
And now look, it's Cut starting to position themselves aggressively. That 6k gold lead has shrunk down slightly from the 8k we had prior, but the tankiness of this Malphite into the later game, no huge AP threats coming in from the side of GK is going to mean that he is an absolute monster as this game continues to step its way forward. They've got the run-of-the-mill of things. They're the ones starting to march their way around the map. As you get towards that 16, 17-minute mark, full builds will start coming online in the next few minutes already. In fact, for Sultanos, he is basically there moving in towards building out that last item. That over-engaging the previous fight, though, did set them back a little bit, but then was countered by Boss being a bit of a fool hanging around the mid lane for too long.
Yeah, I'm sure Boss wouldn't want that to happen again, especially once the Infernal Drake has spawned, especially that the Baron has already been there. Looking at the items, GK does have the double Zhonya's. They want to engage heavily on this one.
Oh, the taunt coming in as well. Catches on to the Sushi. It's the Nami potentially going down here in the back line. In fact, no, they've turned it around at the last second. They found 2 back for themselves. No way. No way. A Cut decimating and turning this game back around in their favor. But that's how it looks to be. They get the burn down. It's 1 versus 1 in the backside for the junglers. But that's the guy you want to leave alone. It's Sultanos off by himself whilst the rest of his team get decimated. He is the last man standing.
Yeah, Cut is happy. He's just finding Firax again, finding Hazet off the board, and then leaving the most fed member of GK. Without your teammates, basically there's nothing you can do.
Whew. Okay. There's work to be done here for GK. Otherwise, Cut walk away with this series 3-0. But the most painful part is GK is still sat in the lead, by the way, by 4,000 gold. That will, of course, crunch down as more and more of these towers fall across the map, and surely Sultanas doesn't want this
Going
fight.
in?
Apparently he does as well. Immediately comes out with the Zhonya's, and now the rest should just back away from this one. He really wants to try and force these isolated fights because he knows that his team cannot do well in these 5 versus 5s anymore.
Yeah, exactly. This is a very awkward spot for GK. Just as you mentioned, they're in the lead, but they can't find the correct opportunities. This is such a forced fight, I suppose. The fact that Teemo survived all of this makes it really, really a bit unfortunate for GK. And after failing and using all their resources for the support means that, there's nothing much left to use for the carries of Cut Esports. Another fight?
I mean, Risk is just immediately out of there. But at the point you made a second ago is right for GK. They had this lead and they were so desperate to make sure they pressed it and used the pressure from the advantage they had. They've over-engaged in 2 fights and given Cut a way back in. They're down 2k gold. Now GK are the ones looking to try and start onto the Baron because, of course,
Teleport.
Camille's on the bottom side of the map. But she's TPing in. Great knock-up. Ult comes across, hits no one. The steal away the Baron! That's what you wanted to see. And surely the meltdown comes through now. GK at least starting to fight their way back, but they are being crushed. That Corki's hit late game. They have melted their way through. GK have thrown what was once an 8,000 gold lead for Cut to fight their way back in and take the 3-0.
And now Cut getting that Baron, stealing that Baron, and now taking the series 3-0. What a series that we are just witnessing. We just witnessed, rather.
That is a turnaround and a half, but that is why they are topping Group C and they are the team to represent this group at the finals. Unbelievable play coming out of Cut. Some questionable moments, of course, from both sides, but the 3-0, it really did get their revenge, Riku.
Yeah, that was such an intense match, especially for Sultanos. He was crazy in that game, but unfortunately, he wasn't able to transition that lead for the rest of the squad. He was basically the only one. He was godlike. But at the same time, as the game went by, there's only so much a Lee Sin can do.
I mean, you can look back at a couple of these fights in the early game and just see where GK's strength was really coming from. Even with Risk landing a massive 3-4 man ult, no follow-up for the rest of the team because guess what? They've got a Renekton in their face. They've got Sultanos going crazy in the back line. But even when things look that messy for the side of Cut and GK are the ones with the 3-0 advantage to start things off, it just gets completely turned back on them. I think you always saw that potential for Cut to win a team fight that never really came to light because of Sultanos. But once he starts falling off, once Risk starts going massive in these fights, that's when everything really started to crumble for the side of GK.
Yeah, there were a lot of really nice unstoppable force just to stop GK in their tracks. And at the same time, I feel like Camille did an amazing job just finding these targets as well, just trying to remove Furax immediately off the board to provide utility, just as we're looking at the replay right now, just, bombarding the backline and making sure that the formation of GK is pretty much scattered. And this is where Cut will thrive because they have 2 assassins on the board, which is the Camille and as well as Boss on the Zed.
It is. It's one of those, again, that I think you'll look back at it and remember GK as being the team that were almost there, but not quite, because there was that potential miracle chance for them to be the team that makes it out of Group C into the championship. Because if Cut had lost in the lower bracket yesterday, if GK had gone on to win the entire thing, they would have been the team at the top of the standing, despite Sunlight and Cut being the ones that were always in the finals in both June and July. But reminded here of who they're coming up against. Sunlight may have fell short. Their day may have ended, but for Cut, they get to proceed on through and wear that banner for Group C after an incredible performance. This last fight being the one that really turned it back in their favor. The damage that came through from the Corki in the late game, just catastrophic.
Yeah, that was an incredible steal coming from the Camille as well. So it basically just fell down like dominoes despite having GK getting that early massive lead. And Cut, very patient. They just waited for the mid to late game and just played it out and were rewarded with a 3-0 finish in the Origin Series August.
Great delivery coming out from Cut. That is our first grand final of the 3 to come. But those other 2 do have to take place tomorrow because right now we need to step into our lower bracket finals to see who faces off against the grand finalists of No Team, No Talent and Supermassive Blaze who wait for them tomorrow. Let's go to our break. When we come back, that second series from Group B going to be coming your way. See you in a few.
Last series was all about finding Furax. Now let's see what kind of title will Riku say for series number 2. We'll be your casters for that series. Even though we guys saw a best of 5, now we are defaulting back to our best of 3s.
Yeah, it is now back to the lower bracket the finals this time around as we get to see, BKR duke it out against Bal Esport as we get to see, Kid, Sector, Shikimori, Prince, Victor. And for Bal, we've got Knight, Spec, Gandalf, Katze, and Gariban.
So now we saw the usual Olaf lineup, and then we've been seeing a lot of Dianas in series number 1. Let's see, will we be seeing more of those champions, or are we gonna go back to the Ashe ADC, Ziggs APC? A lot of things definitely will be available in the board and even in the pool. So now, without further ado, let's jump into the pick and ban phase.
Maybe we'll get to see the Ashe, maybe the pick composition, depending if the Xin Zhao will be banned, just like what we saw in the Cut Esports versus GK Esports series. But BKR, they don't want this. They don't want the Camille coming in. I mean, it's a big high value pick. The fact that you can flex it in 2 different lanes. Bal, of course, they don't want the Gragas in, meaning that potentially they can pick Assassins. They can potentially pick the Akali as well. We'll see though if Bal will decide to take that off immediately. Asterius will be banned. I'm guessing a Renekton could possibly be for BKR, because I feel like, level 1s, level 3s for a Renekton versus a Darius pick can be a little bit awkward.
True, and on top of that, they also eliminated Olaf, another Brand laner / jungler that just excels in these 1v1s. I was about to say Ziggs is open, but looks like Bal do not want to let that champion go. They do not want quick fights, and you mentioned this, Xin Zhao being open, BKR immediately getting their hands on that, and Bal answers with a neutralizer, which is Garen.
Yeah, this is basically them saying, okay, your instant neutralizer, once a Xin Zhao will come in, it's just easy silence. And if BKR also decides to pick up an Akali, then there's an answer. There's basically an easy answer. Corki now being picked up. We've seen how the mid to late game, wait a minute, this is going to be a double AD carry, Corki mid, and of course have Varus in the mid lane. We've seen the Serylda's being prioritized for the Varus just because of the utility it brings. It's kind of like having an Ashe for your team, I suppose. In the meantime, Wukong will get picked up. I'm not going to be surprised if it's a Diana finish for Bal with their Wombo combo with Cyclone and the Moonfall.
Yeah, after the knockup, you will immediately see a very good Moonfall coming through from Diana, but the support will be Braum, and you called this. Renekton has been locked in for the side of BKR. Let's see if that is going to be a Diana pick. And Riku predictions on point 2021. That is going to be the last champion for the side of Val.
Yeah, this is a good 2-man. Mid jungle, we're talking about the big setup. Cyclone on top of Moonfall or vice versa. And with a tidal wave as well for the big engage to make sure that the Kai'Sa and the Garen is able to catch up. So this is a very strong mid to late game composition in a 5v5 scenario. So I'm curious as well. On the opposite side, we saw a Renekton. That means they're hoping the Renekton to bully out the lane. But because it's a Garen matchup, the Renekton will need more help than the 1v1.
I mean, it's definitely difficult to take down Garen with all that tankiness. Plus, we know how much damage he will have in the latter parts of the game, in these 15 or 16-minute mark. But you guys have the picks and bans. Let's just hop into game number 1. Right, again, the first game for our best of 3s, the usual lane phase, and it is going to be a mid lane Corki. I am actually looking forward to seeing how Renekton will play it out in the early game, but looks like we have a 4 champion unit here. Winter's Bite will see no one. You have Nami, you have Kai'Sa into the sides. That is going to be the person hour coming through for this Varus, but no one is actually gonna commit just yet. Again, Diana Corki will have their own little world into the mid lane. This is going to be a fight of who will be able to scale first.
Yeah, it's the Corki being on this melee and range matchup. Of course, Corki will be able to get a good foothold in the mid lane, possibly maybe even getting priority. And with that said, the little tussle with that level 1, maybe it's an attempt because they do have a Braum, which just automatically gives you a very strong level 1 setup. Maybe burn a summoner spell or 2. And now for the bottom portion of the map, or rather, yes, for the bottom portion of the map, this dual lane, actually good news for Katse. He does have that sustain and the healing coming from the Nami, so he wouldn't be too worried too much about the piercing arrows that Prince will dish out in the laning phase.
It's okay, if Kai'Sa gets damaged, I have the heals, I have the ebb and flow, and if ever they decide to just overextend, you have the bubble, the Aqua Prison Braum. I think he is gonna try and take a vision into the side of the mid lane. Corki being able to push Diana back, that is gonna be Wukong lurking to the sides. You have the Crescent being sent out by Diana. It's gonna be jump in onto this Corki. No full commitments just yet. Ebb and flow is gonna come through, but you have Braum with the Unbreakable.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of safe and just disengage over here. And for Savage, this could be the first gank. No, it misses, unfortunately. And
close.
Gandalf is still going to be safe for now.
And I thought that was actually the first kill going over to BKR, but apparently playing it safe is gonna work wonders into the early game. Renekton is gonna fall back for now. Now you have Wukong just getting the buff. Pretty standard rotations here as well. I guess they just want to wrap up on the gold, even in the items. Piercing Arrow is gonna come through, connecting onto no champion, but looks like they're gonna focus on clearing out the wave.
Yeah, there's a lot of wave clear involved with the Piercing Arrow, just as you mentioned. And in the mid lane, I believe it was an Ignite dropping on towards Gandalf there. I could be wrong. Either it is just Shikimori getting the Phosphorus bombs on towards the Gandalf. And he should be careful because it's a Wukong. It's a Wukong paired with Gandalf on this Diana. A gank could possibly happen. A counter gank could possibly happen. And once the chain of CC connects, actually, I wonder what good stuff is here. Oh no, the Moonfall is.
Oh no, okay. I guess he thought that Corki was gonna jump in or just pop the Valkyrie, so he just made sure to pop the Moonfall if ever that is gonna happen. He also used Lunar Rush earlier on, so he had no other way for disengage. He did not want to use Flash this early on, given that the Dragon or Rift Herald will be up in a few more seconds.
Yeah, that's true. It's better safe to just keep that, especially against a Xin Zhao jungle. Xin Zhao will constantly try to find these opportunities to enable a skirmish, to see if they can find a gank. Especially, we talked about this, level 3, level 5, pretty good spikes for BKR. And so far, the Great Neutralizer doing its work. Knight is keeping this Renekton in check. And if you keep the Renekton in check, Renekton will go past its prime. It's just going to basically get shredded in the later stages of the game by Katze here on this Kai'Sa. So that means that's one minus win condition down for BKR.
Silence plus that judgment, and you have Garen just holding his ground. You have the Call of the Meal being popped. Stuns are gonna come through, but no actual commitments. Actually, both of them even popped recall at the right time. Rift Herald plus, of course, the Ocean Drake is now up. Blue team already have their eyes on this dragon, but Diana, Nami, as well as Kai'Sa and Wukong slowly making their way into the Dragon's Pit. And with that, two things. BKR, they could try and steal the dragon or just opt with the Rift Herald. But for now, looks like they want to see a fight. They want to get the first dragon. Piercing Arrow has been sent out. Wukong still has his Cyclone. They are still hiding this one out. Ocean Drake will be at a reset and still pretty stalemate for these two teams. No one pulling the trigger just yet. You have the Crescent Strike being sent out by Diana, but no actual jump-ins just yet.
Yeah, Bal is just waiting for the package to expire from Shikimori for them to comfortably take on this dragon contest. And now they're getting poked out by Bal though.
It's gonna be jumping correctly onto the. You have the tidal wave coming through. You also have the Moonfall. Red first kill going over to the red team. Now you have Braum saying goodbye. That is gonna be the Gatling being used. But Diana, she wants to get that early game kill. A double kill going over to this champion. The lead that the red team wanted. That was a 4-0 in favor of Bal. Plus they got the Ocean Drake and the first outer mid lane turret.
That is a massive start. Double kill for both of the carries of Bal, for Katze, and Gandalf. That is huge. And Bal can just easily transition that for the next fight. Get the resets, get more items on the board, then go to the Rift Herald. We can see that Knight is slowly lingering around the corner, becoming that human ward. Gandalf, though, will try to get that split push in. They get First Blood Tower, but now that BKR is starting this Rift Herald and the rest of Bal are nowhere nearby, that means they're going to concede this, but it's fine because they do get First Blood Tower.
Now that is going to be BKR trying to even things out, so let's take a look at the previous fight in the Dragon's Pit.
This is a beautiful Cyclone. Oh dear, that Wukong Cyclone into the tidal wave was just massive, and it enabled basically Gandalf and as well as the Kai'Sa to keep going. It was just a perfect setup for that. That's just beautiful. It's one of the best Cyclones so far we've seen in the August of the Origin series.
We could be seeing more of that because now Val is definitely online, 0-5 on the scoreboard. A lot of things are in their favor, but still for the side of BKR, it is kind of early. They could just wait for, they are running the double ADC. Of course, in the earlier parts of the game, it's going to be pretty passive, pretty conservative. They just need to stretch the game as long as they can, but they also need to keep in mind of Renekton's power spike. Now, do you have the Dragon Lane duo making their way up into the Baron lane just as I talked about Renekton. Voidseeker is not gonna connect though. They do not have the wave. They could just rotate over to the mid lane. Wukong does have Cyclone, but I don't think they are gonna try and commit with the pickoff.
Yeah, BKR. This is them having to try to play that defense because Savage unfortunately didn't get any opportunity, any successful ganks in the early game, and as well as unfortunately as well as the Renekton didn't get those early kills, and now he falls from this 3-man collapse from Baal.
That was too fast. So, BKR, Val rather, they knew that the members of BKR are here at the Dragon Lane side. Now you have the knockups coming through. Forky was forced to jump away with the Gatling gun. A lot of resources being bursted down. Wuka say goodbye, and they have a jump in coming through for Xin Zhao, and he was able to get the double kill. Garen being bursted down. Aside from getting those 2 kills, they will be able to get these 2 turrets.
That's value right there for the Rift Herald. Not only getting a second charge on that inner tower, but also getting 2 extra kills on the board. This is what Savage wants. This is what will enable the 1-3-1 that we were talking about. But let's take a look at the replay. Again, at top side, this is Sector not being able to do much. He dives in, wanting to get a wave clear on the tower, but there's just too much damage. You're facing the 2 most fed members on Baal's side. But at the end of the spectrum, though, they're able to get at least a kill or 2 for Savage there. So I think they can leverage on that and see where that takes them.
Where will it take them indeed? But now Kai'Sa sitting at a level 10. Piercing arrow. Yes, it was supposed to hurt, but she is going to be A-okay. Xin Zhao still holding his ground into the base. Infernal Drake will be up in 25 seconds. Garen is pretty far from where his teammates are. And Val looks like they just want to get some more damage in, more items in. And BKR is still on the hunt. They could try and look for Nami. They could try and hunt for Kai'Sa, but I guess they would just want to focus on forcing these full-on 5v5s like right now. But again, they need to be very wary of the possible Moonfall. Luna Rush plus Moonfall is one of the key combos from Val Esports.
Yeah, they should plan a ward in the blue buff because that is the place where Spec set up a beautiful Cyclone. It could happen again if they start lingering around and starting this dragon without proper vision in the jungle of Val.
Speaking of start, looks like they want to start something here. That wave is gonna come through. There is no follow-up. The bubble is gonna be sent out as well. Voidseeker will spot 2 champions out. Agaton Rain is gonna connect on to Xin Zhao, but it is gonna be A-okay. Voidseeker is still being sent out again. No one is touching the Infernal Dragon just yet. The Valkyrie has been used by Forky. Piercing Arrow being able to spot Kai'Sa out, and it looks like the more seconds that pour in, the more advantage that Val has over this Infernal Dragon.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, the special delivery has expired. That means it's go time for Baal. And look at this zone. They get the Infernal Drake, the second dragon of the game once more, without BKR having to do anything.
That is even Luna Rush connecting onto one, and you have Kai'Sa jumping in with the Killer Instinct. Moonfall has been used, but you have Varus just making sure he will not get taken down. He decides to disengage. That is going to be a flash out for Nami, just to make sure that there won't be any Corki or Xin Zhao to burst her down. And 2-6 in the scoreboard. Val still has quite a lead, but BKR, they are able to get some turrets in, and at least they could just wait for their power spike.
Yeah, for BKR, they have this double AD carry setup with only a measly Braum that can disengage for them when things get a little bit too sticky. Now we get to see, again, expecting the Corki to get that second item spike with the Infinity Edge or Solari Charge Blade first. And now we get to see Prince having his 2 items. We're rightfully stacked!
Okay, Diana jumping in. Will you be able to survive that 2v1? That is the BA. Yes, he is still pretty much alive, but Killing Spree going over to Xin Zhao. Corki still did not get bursted down there, but now Bal Esports, they could try and get that revenge kill, but BKR, they know how to hold their ground. We already got one kill. Let's not overstay our welcome.
Yeah, that is BKR's really nice bait. Gandalf wanted to take that, but at the end of the day, Bal suffered from that. The good news, though, is still Bal is in the lead. There are no objectives to take. There are no exchange. Really sneaky coming from Gandalf, though. He had no backup there, and he was pretty much very forward in the brush, so it was hard for him to escape. And the fact that Savage gets another kill, and he gets a shot down, too. So that's bounty, an extra goal for Savage. And we keep talking about this. That will enable the 4-1, the 1-3-1, actually, with the Xin Zhao and the Renekton later on, considering that Savage does manage to get that lead. For Bal, they're happy with the 2 Dragon start for them, and they can keep this going with a Cyclone plus that Moonfall combo.
Prepping myself for the possible 1-3-1 later on, but that is Nami being sent out. Now you have Bronze there by connecting onto 1. Plus that Glacial Fissure. Now Nami is just gonna be a little cute green sushi. -1 for the side of Bal Esports and the BKR. They could still try and take down maybe not Wukong. Diana, if she can balance the 1v3, but they are gonna rotate over to the Baron side. You have Kai'Sa being spot out. Now you have Renekton at the back lines. The Unbreakable has been sent out. Remember, no more Glacial Fissure, so BKR will just jump back.
The good news is there are no objectives to take for that important ult to come back soon, but...
Mid lane though, now you have the Moonfall coming through. Corki being bursted down. He gets annihilated. Now Rampage going over to Kai'Sa. IK then Rain hurting a lot. A shutdown on Xin Zhao even. The IK is still being popped. You have Renekton popping with the Dominus, but he still does not get taken down. Instead, Garen was the one that got bursted down. A 1-2 in favor though of Bal Esports.
Yeah, no jungler, no AD carry, -1 AD carry. It's only the Varus left. And now Bal is going to start this Baron. It is going a little bit fast here as Victor will find out what's going on in the pit.
I thought he was going to go and try the steal. I mean, I'm pretty hopeful. Even the Braum can take a Baron steal, but he will not press his luck. Looking back though, and that skirmish in the mid lane.
Yeah, I think it was because the Glacial Fissure was gone, meaning the disengage is gone, meaning the very low mobile AD carries, such as this Varus, and if the Valkyrie has been used, meaning it's go time for Bal to keep going, to keep chasing, no fear whatsoever. That really nice piercing arrow from Prince, though, is able to snipe someone down, at least able to get an exchange kill. Now Bal looking for, look at Savage, he's in too deep.
Savage has his eyes on this Kai'Sa. That's not gonna come through, but that is gonna be a lot of damage being taken by the jungler. Kai'Sa instead was the one that got the kill, and after seeing that unsuccessful pickoff, BKR, they decided to just stay under turret, Garen the front line. Renekton split, pushing in the Baron lane. You have Diana making her way into the mid lane, or she will most likely focus on the turret, but now Bal Esports being able to get another turret. No more outer towers. Turrets for the mid lane and the Dragon lane. Corki forced to use the, of course, Valkyrie. A shutdown on this Kai'Sa. Varus being bursted down. Now you have Garen jumping in with the judgment, but here comes Bal Esports. They still want to put the pressure onto BKR. Corki jumping in. You still have a pretty healthy Gandalf, was able to pop the Zonius right on time, but now Garen with the passive proc. You have the overstay for Bal Esports, and now Nami as well as Garen forced to jump back. Tidal Wave is gonna come through. They are very, very low. I mean, they could still jump at this, but there's no other resources. Flashes have been bursted, has been used rather, and Xin Zhao can't actually reach them just yet.
Yeah, 9k gold lead after all that chaos. It is the base of BKR open for the taking. BKR at least would want to get this Mountain Drake as this opportunity has been opened, as Bal pretty much overstayed their welcome, but at the end of the day, they are still pretty much successful. This dive onto the base was so good, because Gandalf pretty much just eliminated the squishies first, basically ignoring Sector at the moment, leaving that to the hands of Knight here as on that Garen. And really nice package though to stop Gandalf's retreat. But again, I have to say it, the base is still pretty much open, so the value of the Baron buff has been maximized.
Now you have a very quick skirmish here at the jungle lane side. I did see Kaisa target Varus there, but the kill has not been secured. However, Bal Esports, they are trying to square in BKR. That is going to be a jump in right on Sinja's face. Gaze of Fisher connecting onto one. Winter's Bite will come through as well, but Bal, they don't care. They want to just focus on playing the objective game. The base is now basically bare for BKR side. Now you have Renekton at the front line. That is going to be a possible jump in for Bal Esports. But you have the Aqua Prison jumping in. Tidal Wave has been used as well just to try and separate these two teams. BKR still pretty healthy, and Baron will be up in 11 seconds. So Bal, maybe they want to get the purple worm first before they decide to go with another fight.
Yeah, they can try to take a pick first before pursuing this. Force it into a 4v5. You can see that Knight is lingering around.
Beautiful jump in for the side of Bal Esports. Now you have Corki at the back line. Is the ultimate coming through for Garen. Continuously going over to Corki. You're next and focus onto one champion, but you have a 2v1 right there. Nami saying goodbye. A rampage at Corki. Gatling being used as well. Now you have an Avizonis coming through. Will it be enough? That is the minion wave. Because triple kill going over to Corki. Minions is right there. They need to clear this out quickly, but overall, that was a 2-4 in favor of BKR.
Yeah, that is a wipe from Bal. Knight's still alive, but the minion waves from mid at bot and bot rather have managed to deal so much damage onto the Nexus. It all started here. Look at Knight. His positioning very, very sneaky. He's just gonna activate a silence in. As we can see that, unfortunately, the Varus is pretty much low. Prince was forced to use a Zhonya's Hourglass, but we can see that the fight is a little bit scattered. There was a bunch of half fights here. Katse didn't have anyone else to peel for him. Knight decides to just tap out of the fight because basically they lost. Triple kill for the Corki, so that is massive. Guardian Angel already attained. Package picked up by Shikimori, so that means they can try to find opportunities where they can utilize that, possibly towards the Baron.
Looks like they are making their way into the Baron pit side, but if you're gonna look at the turret takedowns, they were only able to get one turret from Bal Esports side, whereas Bal was able to get 8. Wukong jumping out with the clone, but now you have the missiles, just the guns, the bullets being thrown out by Corki, and the Void Seeker will be sent out just to see if they can spot someone, and they did. Renekton's positioning has been shown. You have the pings coming through at the jungle lane. They could wait for the minion. Now that is gonna be another tidal wave plus the bubble connecting, but Renekton was able to use his ultimate ability enough to coming through from Bal Esports. Now you have the such damage coming through from the red team side. Now you have Kaisa with the GA still pretty available. Now you have a flash out coming through from Diana, but it's not going to be enough because she gets bursted down. Shinjo saying goodbye, and so far it is a 1-to-1 trade. They could still go at this. Judgment coming through for Garen. He does get stunned, but he does not care. What a beautiful offer person from this Nami. Ikeithan Rain being sent out was able to pop the GA. They could secure the kill. A flash out from Corki, but the chase is not gonna stop. We have the Unbreakable coming through. Was able to cancel Tidal Wave. Now they're gonna jump in right. Still they are gonna flash in. Jump in. Brom saying goodbye. Just this Garen at the front line with the Judgment again. Now you have the ultimate coming through, piercing through their heart, and Bal Esports being able to bag game number 1.
Yeah, piercing through their heart, piercing through game number 1. And that seemed like it was, BK Rog slowly picking up with the pace. They were able to sort of win that 5v5, but it doesn't change the fact that Katse from Bal was pretty humongous, and it was him. As long as he's safe in the back line, as long as he's still able to survive, they can still turn around fights like just as we witnessed in that game.
That is true. Also, towards the latter parts of that game, they could have done something about this, but the blue team rather could have won this. But the problem was red team, they just had this humongous lead, and in that last clash, it was if I'm allowed to use this term, a audition team fight. The champions falling down one by one, and you could see the red team, okay, I got this one. Now let's go over to this one. They're just picking their targets. Even though they did try to fall off, they just used all of their resources, their flashes, their barriers. The The moment Tidal Wave was available for Nami, the slows just helped so much. So that was a very intense game number 1. Let's take a look at the highlights.
Yeah, it's this the fight that we just witnessed earlier. It was basically what do you call this? It was basically a prolonged fight in the mid lane. But take note, look at the minion wave. They're slowly building up. So what Bal had to do was basically buy time. They all had to do buy time, and with that, you know, they basically had Katse very safe in the back line. We got Shikimori in a very awkward spot actually. So he was pretty much close to the fight just because he wants to deal as much rockets as they can. But take note, Bal's mission is to prolong the mid lane. If they prolong the mid lane, the minion waves can just slowly seep in to the base and cause panic for BKR. And it worked wonders for them. And I think that was the game-winning formula or the game-ending formula.
And the game-ending formula for me too was the smiley that he just put on the drawing board. But yes, the minion waves pushing it just became a problem for them. So even though they could have gotten the mid lane turret, they decided to just not risk it. So let's see, what kind of adjustments will they do? Are we gonna see a game number 3 or are we gonna see a 2-0? I am very much excited. So let's take another look at the team rosters. Bal really showing us what is up. That control from the early up until the late game, even though BKR had moments that they did shine. Looks like they still want to assert dominance. But we did see how this team played yesterday. So I'm really looking forward to seeing, I'm actually looking forward to seeing a 1-1 for this series. But still, let's see, what kind of adjustments will they do? Are they still gonna ban out Gragas? Olaf, will we see another Xin Zhao? Let's take a look at the pick and ban.
Well, that is the question. Will we see an Olaf this time around, or an Olaf Unleashed? I feel like, you know, the earlier game was, Katse, very amazing on that Kai'Sa. And Gandalf as well, such a good Diana into the Cyclone. But Bal removing initially the disengage. So possibly they could opt for an Assassin once more, perhaps. Or maybe the 1-3-1 that we saw from BKR. Fiora getting taken out of the equation, possibly targeted against Sector, perhaps. Maybe. BKR still banning out that Darius, meaning that we could possibly see another Renekton pick at topside.
Maybe, and I'm actually having a little game with myself. Are we gonna see another Garen? Let's see. Corki will be banned out though. Ziggs is open. Xin Zhao is open. Camille got banned out. Akali is open though. If any of these teams want to pick that up. Pantheon, how can I forget he was banned in game number 1? He's now open, and Bal got their hands on this champion.
Yeah, I really like this pick, especially, again, having to get the side lanes, or rather create impact to the side lanes, be able to get that backline access as well. If BKR, they're looking to assemble again. If you lock into Wukong, usually you expect a Diana pick that will come after. Now, Bal opting for this Varus pick as well. They're looking into stun from the Pantheon into the Chain of Corruptions, into the bubble. So there's a lot of CC lock going on in Bal's composition.
Mostly single target, though, at least from the first 3 champions that we saw. BKR, they will now release the Senna and the Olaf. So really looking forward to seeing how he will perform in the jungle lane, because most likely that is going to be a Wukong in the jungle. Xin Zhao will still find his way into the lineup of Bal. On top of that, they finish it off with an Ahri, another single target CC. So Bal, they want to have these 1v2s or 1v3s. They want to go with the pickoffs.
Yeah, the early skirmishes, mainly a top side, is incredibly strong. Level 3 is a very strong power spike for the side of Bal. And for BKR, they have a lot, again, of the Wombo combos. They do have the Olaf as well into the equation. So we're looking at maybe an Olaf top, maybe a Wukong in the jungle. We'll have to see.
We will have to see as well. So you guys saw the matchups, the adjustments for our game number 2. To the supporters of these 2 teams, do not forget to share the stream, comment some motivational words, or cheer them on, because we're gonna hop into game number 2. Ready. So I really like the Ari pick. Can I just say, I don't know about you, but I've been seeing a lot of good Ari plays in the Origin series for the month of August, aside from the Akali plays that we actually even saw in series number 1. But now BKR, they're pissed. They're mad. They really want to push this to game number 3. And as you can see, you have 2 champions into the mid lane. Olaf will just get some EXP and then rotate back to the Baron lane. Orb Obsession has been used, and now Olaf, I think he just tried to scare Ari a bit there, but now he is just gonna go back to his actual opponent, Pantheon.
Yeah, this is there's 2 things, right? It's for you to make sure you get priority immediately for Shikimori in the mid lane, because again, level 3, Power Spike, Gandalf, pretty much everybody else involved in the Baal composition is incredibly strong. Also, you mentioned being able to soak down early experience, meaning you'll get to level 2 first, and that's most likely what we saw earlier in this 1v1 between Sector and Knight. And this time around, level 3 will be very, very important. Getting priority as well will be very important for Baal, for them to use the level 3 spikes that we mentioned earlier. A lot of single target. You got the stuns, you got the charm from the Ahri as well. Spec with a full kit with a knockup as well. So I feel like this is the win condition so far, at least for the early game for Baal.
They just need to survive and get the advantage in the early game and then translate it into the late game. But for BKR, they are all about the late game. I mean, look at that. Olaf, Ziggs, and especially Ezreal. I can't stress the late game on this champion enough. So Val just needs to balance this out and try to end the game maybe around the 12 or 13-ish minute mark, just to make sure that BKR will not storm into their Nexus. But now jumping back into 2 minutes under game number 2, Olaf was able to push Pantheon back. And well, Knight still, of course, he will just have to wait for level 5s before he can make things happen. He needs a global ult to actually try and have a duel up against this Olaf.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. He needs to have priority to utilize level 5 in his lane, to utilize the Grand Starfall to create impact in the other parts of the map. And again, level 5-wise, of course, Olaf will definitely win, because the tools that Knight has on level 5 is definitely more on that utility versus the dual potential that Sector has. The stun will not connect to Sector in a 1v1 scenario. But it could be a 2v2 scenario if you involve your junglers, and we are seeing a lane gank possibly from Savage.
He is just waiting at the bush, but okay, I think I actually thought it was gonna be a 2v2, but the jungler said, okay, you guys are Baron laners, I'm gonna fend you off yourselves. You know what to do. Fear of the Goddess being picked up by Ziggs though. Still yet to see who will be able to scale first for the mid laners. Senna just coming in with the heals, making sure that her ADC is pretty safe. Now you have the stuns that did come through, but there is no actual jump-ins or pickoffs just yet. Ahri though, Gandalf, making her way down into the dragon lane side. They could try and go with the turret that is suddenly connecting onto no one. You have a jump in from this Xin Zhao as well. Now the other members of BKR decide to join the party. Red team be able to get first blood. Now Senna sending out your ultimate. Nami saying goodbye. That is going to be the stuns coming through. Double could go over to Wukong, and overall it was a 2-0 in the favor of BKR. Right in time. Just in time for the Infernal Drake.
You have 20 seconds on the clock. I feel like everybody can make it to this dragon. But the thing is, that was so unfortunate because it looked pretty good on paper, that attempt from Baal, as we take a look at that again, because the Chain of Corruption missed, the Tidal Wave unfortunately missed, so at that point you ran out of disengage options. You're going to get sandwiched by Shikimori, you're going to get sandwiched by Savage with a Cyclone, so after that, you know, it's them overcommitting without the important ults connecting.
Nami, okay, we'll just use that speed boost on to herself, and Varus again, early game, quiet, champion will just farm. Both teams has their eyes on the Infernal Drake, even that just want to get more damage in. Ziggs does have the Mega Inferno Bomb, so BKR has another way of stealing a possible objective. That is going to be the Ragnarok coming through from Olaf. Jump in again. That's the Mega Inferno Bomb being thrown out at the perfect time, but Pantheon was able to even up the trade. Now BKR, they have their eyes on this dragon. Nami Varus, as well as Ari lurking to the side. Spec, the jungler is nowhere there. Now you have the chain of corruption as well as the Starfall being popped right there. Ezreal saying goodbye. Now you have Varus leaving for the back line. Senna being taken down. Ziggs forced disengage, and it was a win for Val.
And you'd think that BKR could be very confident in these fights, especially that they're able to get the double kill coming from Savage. But again, it is Baal was able to get those early picks. Really nice Grand Skyfall once more. Again, take note, the Starfall coming from the Pantheon does have passive of the armor penetration. So I think it holds such a huge value, especially when you're up against such as a Wukong, and as well as possibly, especially later on with the Olaf. A fight though.
Protocol has been used by Pantheon, but wait, Ziggs. Okay, blast code into safety, too close for comfort, but the bomb has been used. Okay, now even Steven both has the last bar into their life, but Ziggs was able to get his hands on the honey fruit or being thrown out by Ari. Just a small bouncing bombs here and there. Charm is not gonna be enough. Apparently, he missed the orb. That was too close, but here comes Pantheon jumping in. Barrage being sent out. Tidler being sent out as well. Killing spree going over to Pantheon. Ziggs being bursted down, but Wukong was able to annihilate Pantheon as well. Now you have Nami the back line. BKR forced to disengage. Wukong very, very low. This could be the Rip Herald going over to Baal.
Yeah, the jungler is pretty low. Oh, he was able to survive because of that honey fruit as well. I feel like Cariban can smell blood. He wanted that kill as well. It was just pretty much one ebb and flow, I think, for that kill secure. Yes. But Val is able to get this Rift Herald, create space. Again, it's all thanks to Gandalf with that really beautiful charm as he found Shikimori all alone and isolated from the rest of the squad. And again, that just did wonders. It basically opened up the opportunity for Val to contest this Rift Herald. Trisha Barrage may not hit, but doesn't change the fact that they were able to eliminate the mid laner.
I was actually about to say that there was no Spirit Rush, so Ari was just forced to jump away in that fight, even though Ziggs was a very, very juicy target. And if Ezreal just tilted the Trisha Barrage a bit to the left, could have gotten the kill, but it's okay. At least they were able to damage the Rift Herald. Now BKR back to their default. Ziggs is at the Baron lane though. Now you have Olaf. We have a switcheroo actually. Olaf is down the jungle lane side. You have the jungle lane duos into the mid lane. He does have Ragnarok. He also has Wukong lurking at the back lines, but I don't think they are gonna try and pick a fight.
I think they saw him
yet. They want to. No. The stuns coming through. Now here comes Wukong. He does have Cyclone, but I don't think he's gonna commit just yet. They want to get the feud. They want to get the turret. Rather, Undertow has been used, and BKR, they do not want to overstay the welcome. They do see Nami, they do see Xin Zhao, and they're just gonna fall back.
Yeah, it was pretty far into the tower already, so BKR didn't have much leeway to force that gank. And in the meantime, First Blood Tower is still up for grabs, and I feel like the closest one to fall down is bottom lane. And that's the reason why we get to see Sector still continuing to push, but at the same time, Skyfall, or rather, the Pantheon is still there. There's the charge in, and First Blood Tower will go in favor of Val. Oh wait, hold that thought. Not yet. No,
wait, are they gonna defend? Nope. Okay, that was too close. I thought they were gonna get First Blood turret. Now that I see Peter Megan for the bomb being thrown out. No follow-ups, no wave as well. So Val will just force to back away. 2 turrets that almost got taken down. Almost is never enough. Now the orb has been sent out. Waves are gone. The explosive minefield has been used as well as the bouncing bombs. No one actually committing the fights just yet. They just want to play the objective game. The moment they see someone in front of them, they fall back. Now Dragon is gonna be up in 20 seconds, and I guess BKR would want to get their hands on this.
Yeah, that's the thing about BK Rog's roster, or composition rather. They're still waiting for the Ezreal to get 2 items, at least having the Muramana fully stacked and the Trinity Force. And now for Shikimori as well, they're opting for that, Rabadon's at least for the 3rd item, for the bombs to really, really deal a lot of impact. And BKR, meaning that they have to wait a little bit more.
That is going to be the Aegis Assault currently onto Olaf. 1v3, forced to use Ragnarok, still has the Honey Fruit, and Olaf was able to survive that one. He is A-okay. Now, Val being able to push the Baron laner from BKR away, they would have first dibs onto this dragon, but BKR, they will try to go the contest. Stuns are not gonna come through. Piercing arrow. Oof, that hurts. That is gonna be Senna, but here comes Pantheon jumping in currently on the tidal wave. You have the ultimates coming through, but they just want to give space or have space against Val. Pantheon is gonna be the first one to get taken down. Now you have BKR, Ezreal for the back line, Cyclone coming through from Wukong, and that is gonna be a re-engage, but it's not gonna be enough. Nami being bursted down, going over to Wukong. Now you have
double kill.
ADC still alive, double kill going over to him. Gandalf the next target, make that a triple kill. It was a 3-2 in favor of BKR, but they are not gonna stop anytime soon. Xin Zhao is right there. They could just retreat or they could just try and contest, but I guess BKR, they want to play it safely. Ezreal, he has enough damage, so they're just gonna fall back.
Yeah, it's a little bit too risky. They wouldn't really finish the dragon in time, and the reset is just going to happen in favor of BKR. Let's take a look at that again. I think the reason why Bal lost this team fight is that they came in 1 by 1. The Mega Inferno Bomb, the True Shot Barrage basically hit spec all in all, and it left Knight to his own demise, and it was a 1v4, 1v5 situation, and Gandalf really took a while to join the fight, using a stack of 2 Spirit Rushes to get close into the fight. And that is damage lost for the entirety of that fight as well. But at the end of the day, Savage gets triple kill. That means he's going to be a very scary Wukong. Now, Dragon has started once more.
Charmis can connect onto one. Now you have Pantheon jumping in with the ultimate, but did not connect onto anyone. Wukong
Piercing
still
arrow.
has the GA Regime being able to get Cloud Dragon, and then they fall back again. I was expecting a fight, but no. BKR, they want to play this conservatively. 7-7 on the scoreboard. The lead, though, is still in favor of Bal, but could go either way. BKR, they just need to take down 3 or 4 champions in the next flash before they can get the lead.
Yeah, it's still a 1k gold difference in favor of Bal. So far, the kills have went to Knight. And that has been very important. That is the reason why he will definitely go in first. Find the backline. Have that backline access. Especially this is a double poke composition rather, coming from Prince and Shikimori. And with that, again, in the 5v5 scenario, of course, BKR will be more comfortable in the dragon, or rather objective fights. For Bal, they want to separate the fight. They want to make sure that your formation is broken. And this will heavily rely on Knight once more, heavily rely on the Chain of Corruptions and the Charms, and all the Chain CC, single target CC more importantly, that will fall from Bal.
Treasure Barrage already has been sent out, as well as the ultimate coming in from Senna. Now you have Ahri. She did not use Spirit Rush just yet, but was able to evade
there it is.
This Wukong, the SCB, the Charms connecting, but Wukong was able to get away with his ult. Now damage are going to come through for the side of Bal, but here comes the initiate from BKR. He's being boxed in. Will Savage be able to secure the SCB? The ultimate coming through from
tidal
Pantheon,
wave,
as well as the tidal wave. Ezreal saying goodbye. Now you have Ziggs in the back line, was able to throw out the Mega Inferno Bomb. Varus being bursted down. Now you have the Charms coming through from his Olaf, but he does not have Ragnarok. At the very least, he was able to survive the burst from this Fox.
Yeah, that's a Ragnarok expiring, and right on time, Gandalf was able to get a charm on the board. But at the same time, I think Spirit Rush already used, they were gonna lack a little bit of damage. Cariban pretty much didn't have any mana at that fight anymore. So Bal still being able to win that skirmish there, as we get to see 2k gold lead for Bal still. But looking at the replay, it all started with the re-engage coming from BKR. They knew that Gandalf already used the Spirit Rush, forced, didn't have much cooldowns, and that gave them the go signal to basically engage. And the Nami, really nice tidal wave there, able to reach and delete that Ezreal off the board, and more extra kills for the Ahri, more extra kills for the Knight.
Very close game so far, 9-8. But now both teams actually both of them are on the hunt. Olaf is here at the back line. He also was able to get his hands on this GA, so he has a bit of more luxury to just soak in on the damage, maybe even get charmed by Gandalf. I actually see Katze picking up the Zhonya's Hourglass there, as well as the Bork coming through for Knight. More damage for him, more safety for Varus. If ever BKR will just try and penetrate the back lines, explosive minefield being sent out by Ziggs yet again. Charm is not going to connect. Baron is still up. Vision Barrage has been sent out by Ezreal. A bit of an ouch for Nami, but she still has that heal. And again, no one is pulling the trigger. But BKR, they are grouped together. This 4-1 setup, they want to give space to Olaf.
Yeah, they are preparing for the next dragon to spawn on this Ocean Drake. But just as you mentioned, look at that, two Proto Belts rather, on the side of Gandalf and as well as Knight. This means Proto Belt into the Charm, Proto Belt into the stuns as well, coming from the Pantheon. And Akatse, I mean, he did manage to get the Serildis. Again, I talked about this before. It's kind of like having a Nash on your team. Providing utility for the slow means if you have the slow, you have a bigger chance in landing those CC skill shots.
Speaking of landing, that is gonna be the Mega Inferno Bomb landing plus the Vision Barrage. Okay, Dragon Lane duo, you gotta say goodbye unless you want to die now. You have Ahri disengaging as well. The satchel being thrown out by Ziggs. BKR being able to just zone them out. Xin Zhao does get spotted out. And it will be a possible Drake going over to the red team. But of course, Val, you still have Pantheon. He still has the ultimate red team being able to secure the Ocean Dragon. Now they could pick a fight. Now you have jump in coming through from Xin Zhao. Plus the ultimate coming in from Senna. Jump in. Pantheon popping in with the ultimate. But Wukong still says goodbye. A shutdown on the jungler. Now you have Val disengaging. Olaf saying goodbye as well. So far, 2 kills going over to Val. And they do not want to stop anytime soon. Xin Zhao on the front line. Minefield being sent out. The BKR, they're just sticking together.
Yeah, they're pretty much happy about getting the 2 frontliners of BKR there, but they still cannot pursue because they ran out of ult. He ult to pursue the backline. Look at that! He flashed in!
Oh no! Lost the shot to charge, and okay, that was the finisher. That is gonna be the Mega Inferno Bomb being sent out as well. That was too close for comfort for this RE. BKR, they are storming into the mid lane. They are very, very low, whereas their enemies are very, very low, whereas they are very healthy. This could be their leeway to get Lord. I mean, you have the ADC plus support, but I don't think that is gonna be enough.
I love
Pantheon. That was so cute.
Oh dear. It all started in this dragon fight again. It was Xin Zhao basically spec, zoning everything from BK Rog. Therefore, Bao can just focus on the front line that was left off. Again, this is how they are supposed to fight. You divide the fight, the formation of BU, but you don't have reach, you don't have Spirit Rush, you don't have the Proto Belts to the stuns anymore, you don't have heavy engage. This is Knight went to the minefield for the slow, so he didn't have enough push range to get to the and another fight in the mid lane.
Another fight, they really want to go at this. Nami saying goodbye now. You have Varus being taken down by Senna. Look at he is safe on the back line. Now that is going to be Pantheon forced to jump away. You have Gandalf at the side. They get the steal at the very least. But I don't think BKR will let go of this Baron very quickly. Not just want to play to their safety. Pantheon at the Dragon Lane side. Satchel coming through. You also have the mines as well as the bouncing bombs. That is going to be the charm connecting. Baron just spitting out some damage. Red team still being able to get the Baron Nashor. 18 minutes in. BKR, this is their time.
Yeah, this is the replay, the fight to see earlier fully. As we, again, this is a fight Bao was not prepared for. Knight wasn't around, Gandalf was, again, this is a composition that needs to start their fights, needs to take control from start to finish. If BKR catches them off guard, they have no leave unless they have the tidal wave in. But all their is basically go in and no way out.
Oh, speaking of no way out, now you have Olaf trying to juggle this 2v1, 3v1, and he is still alive. Here comes Wukong, he still has the Cyclone. Val, they could have, but no, they will just fall back because Ezreal is storming the mid lane. They do not want to let go of another mid lane. 1-4 formation for the side of BKR. Will have their eyes on this mid lane turret that is gonna say goodbye. Now, one last them to be able to seal this game out, but Val, they can still get with one good cleanup from their side. Is going to be the focus on power. They want to just turtle this one out after getting a lot of turrets. They could fall back, but Ezreal is going to throw
the charm.
The two-shot barrage. Charm is going to connect onto this Wukong, he still has GA, a fresh wave of Baron buff midway into the Dragon side. Tidal Wave is gonna connect onto 2. Val could jump in. That is gonna be the clone being used by Wukong to be able to survive that one. The bubbles being thrown out by Nami. The Mega Inferno Bomb literally burned away into the map. Elder Mountain Dragon has been already spawned, but they don't care. They were able to get in jungle, able to get game number 2 and push the series to a game number 3.
We are heading into a game number 3. What was that fight? What was that match from BKR? They were very patient. They took a great control of the game. Especially, they just waited for the Ezreal. They waited for the Ziggs to get their power spikes, getting that Rabadons, getting that 2-item power spike from the Ezreal and Viola. As long as they're safe in the back line, they are gonna be fine in the 5v5s.
We mentioned this 14, 15, 16-minute mark. Needs to close out the game because 16 minutes onwards, it's definitely the game for their team, and they just were able to pull off this draft phenomenally. So I believe you have something here for us, Riku.
Yeah, I feel like we have the highlights kicking in, rolling in as we get to take a look at that again, because this I think this first one was the tone setter for Bao. After the unfortunate tidal wave into the chain of corruption missing and them getting collapsed upon and getting punished by the rest of BKR, it just basically felt like a premonition of what was to happen afterwards. They did have a lot of these game-winning fights, like the dragon over here, or the next dragon rather, but at the same time they were in a ticking time. Had to finish the game before the power spikes of the Ziggs, the power spike of the Ezreal, or else they wouldn't have any answer versus a utility that the Varus provides for the team.
I actually want to see the highlight in the last few minutes or last few seconds of the game, wherein one Mega Inferno Bomb was just enough to erase Nami into the map. But now, to be fair, Nami was able to send out a lot of very good tidal waves. They were able to layer their CCs perfectly. But into the 7-minute mark, I guess, BKR's damage was just too much, and them being able to group together, it just spelled the V in the victory.
Yeah, the composition of Bao is just them having to dictate the fights rather. It's them having the team fight. And while we did see that happen here and there, it felt like it was already too late. The Ziggs was always pretty much alive. There's just a ton of damage. The True Shot Barrage and the Mega Inferno Bomb combo is just too massive to deal with. Even though you have sustain, it's still not going to be enough.
It's not going to be enough in the end. I guess this was it. The Inferno Bomb. And see, right there, Nami, goodbye. And you also have, I actually would like to highlight the fact that Senna was able to position herself perfectly in the back line. The heals, damage, and stuns would almost always connect, and a lot of things just went over to the side of BKR. Series number 2 looks like we will be seeing a game number 3. It was a nitty-gritty kind of game, but after that, BKR was able to make it out of there alive. So without further ado, I know you guys are excited. Who will win? Who will get that 2 in the 2-1? So let's hop into game number 3. Will we see another Ezreal? Will we see another Xin Zhao? Will we see a crazy Olaf just storming right at our faces? These questions will be answered by our teams in this game number 3. So what do you think could be the adjustments, not just for BKR but also for Val?
For BKR, I really like this heavy poke composition. I feel like this could be potentially their strength. It felt like there was no answer. Bao seemed like they were collapsing at the beginning with their engages. So maybe we get to see another poke from Bao, or rather from BKR.
More pokes for the composition. I actually like that. So let's take a look into the pick and ban phase. All right, so more pokes available into the pool, of course. Maybe they could ban out Pantheon this time around if they want to. I'm still going to be expecting a Camille ban, and that did come through. Ziggs ban, please. I'm just going to say it right now.
Yeah, Bal should definitely ban out Zig since they're on red side. Unless they want to pick something different. They're confident. Maybe right now BKR probably opting again for a possible Renekton pick, or that's not a respect ban. But Bal, look at them! A respect ban on towards the Ziggs. So Ezreal can still be available, but the deadly Ziggs plus Ezreal combo is no more. But that means Corki will be open in this series.
Pantheon being banned as well. Xin Zhao is open, and Lee Sin is open if they want to get that. Wukong is open, and BKR will just prio pick that champion.
It is going to be a Diana for sure for BKR, most likely, but that means they've given up the Wukong versus the Corki first pick, perhaps. So Bal, we'll see what they want to top this into. The tidal wave plus the Corki is just really good. The movement speed will allow you to keep chasing, will allow more of the rockets to keep landing as well. Fiora! Now getting picked up. It's going to be the top side Fiora for sure. It's been a while since we've seen this one. So we're not going to be seeing the usual Camille Fiora matchup perhaps. But utility back on BKR. Look at Bal. They decided, okay, we don't want the Diana Wukong combo to be on one side. Now Bal should pick up the Jarvan Galio. But since the Diana has already been picked up, the Jarvan has already been picked up, then I suppose they're still lacking their top lane. I wonder what they finish this off with. Maybe a Renekton perhaps?
Renekton? I mean, that is available. Oh, okay. That is the wait. Who is going where? Wukong will most likely go over to the jungle. Now you have a mid lane Orianna, Fiora at the Baron lane, and then Varus, and then Senna in the jungle lane. Okay, but we saw this is series number 1. Malphite.
That's true.
So let's see if Bal will be able to pull this one off. So the Orianna pick caught me off guard there. I was expecting a different champion, but it's all good. We are back. So again, we're gonna hop into game number 3 to see what will happen with this action.
I said a lot of yeses there. I think it's because I'm so excited to see how this is going to pan out. Mainly the ball delivery system. It's been a while since we've seen this combo, I suppose. Wukong, I mentioned, very confident. Yes, the Diana, but it's been stolen by Bal. So now the Wukong is going to serve as the #1 ball delivery boy, as the big shockwaves could potentially come in. With the Infernal Drake being the first dragon of the game, both of these teams would definitely want that to happen. I like how both of the composition that we're seeing right now is more on that 5v5 setup, but BKR leaning more towards the 4-1 setup, with Sector again here enabling as the Fiora on that 1v1, or rather the split push. The thing about the level 1 matchup with a Malphite is absolutely very tough, because Sector can just keep dashing in, get the vital points. So Knight will be forced to just play reservedly, especially up until level 5. Once level 5 comes, repellable to cancel out the Malphite ult. So that is a huge thing. And Sector will definitely win this lane.
You will have the upper hand indeed. And right now, as you can see, right on your prediction, the minion wave is pouring in, but he has quite slow wave clear as well. He will just take his time, whereas Sector will just constantly pressure him into the lane. Now the Dragon Lane side, that is maybe the Gatling gun being used by Corki to clear the wave, and still for the sustain for the Enchanter support, they will have to wait for their level 5 before they want to do anything or pull anything off. You have J4 still lurking. He does have his eyes rather into the Rift Scuttler. Diana against the Orianna. I like the AoE ultimates here for our mid laner, so like a lot of 5v5s later on, maybe once they reach level 5 or level 6.
Yeah, level 5 is definitely the way to go. Into Moonfall, into the Unstoppable Force. Whoever gets caught out or caught up in that sequence will immediately die. The fact that BKR has a pretty much squishy composition means that Bal has a lot of targets to choose from. Mainly Prince, because it's pretty much low mobile champion, and you're paired up with a Senna. So it's not the same as having a Varus Nami setup, where you compensate your low mobility with movement speed. Basically, we get to see the Senna at least would come up with the heals, the shield, as well as the root as the form of peeling.
Now jumping the Dragon Lane side. Senna making sure that Corki as well as Nami will be nowhere near them. Now, both actually, these 2v2s, they have a look, especially the supports in the earlier parts of the game. They will just baby their ADCs. No ganks from the junglers again so far. They're just gonna focus on clearing out buff. No invades as well. The only ever fight or intense 1v1s we see so far is between the Fiora as well as the Malphite being used by this Fiora, and now Knight again defaulting back into clearing out the waves.
Yeah, there's nothing really a lot that Malphite can do because again, Knight will have to wait for the 5v5s for him to shine with the setups on the Unstoppable Force. And I feel like the first instance where they can put this into application is the Infernal Drake. All of the teams, both teams, will want to contest that one. Massive damage, boost, buff for the whole squad. So we'll see in the next 26 seconds whether or not BKR can set up the shockwave plays along with a cyclone, or will get a good setup with the layering of CCs that we just.
A bit of a damage there being taken by Diana in the mid lane. She already had the available. So now see a bit of a movement from the side of BKR. You have the Wukong just jumping in and out of the Rift Herald already up, as well as the Infernal Drake. Now, blue team, they are in the position Dragon. Unless they would want to get their hands on the Rift Herald, Fiora will still hold their ground into the Baron lane. They want to stick with this 4-1 setup. Let Fiora do what eventually she will be able to catch up and then be in charge of cleanup. Now, Bao, they have on this Dragon, whereas BKR, let's not take Dragon, let's go with the Rift Herald. We want to get that first blood turret and maybe the first blood. Diana, though, still behind the Rift Herald spit, and that is gonna be the Herald and the Infernal Dragon rather and the Rift Herald going over to BKR. But looking now at Dragon Lane side, you have the jump in coming through from this Diana. Diana will not be able to use the Moonfall, but looking at Dragon Lane side, but this Dragon Lane turret that is going to be out of that virus. He does not have the support anywhere near him. Ariana does have the shockwave. Let's see if he will be able to use that. Let's see this Savage jumping in. You have the Cat is going to be coming through. Corki saying goodbye. Blue team being able to get that first, but you have the shockwave coming through. And Bal will just engage. But BKR, they still want to keep the pressure going. Has been someone on the Dragon Lane side. Diana will be nowhere near the turret for the Dragon.
That is an overextended fight, I suppose. I felt like Kadze really wanted that kill. He was pretty much very far forward in the lane. And let's take a look at that final kill again. It was just basically the flash cataclysm. Can't really monkey there and just head straight for the goal and eliminated the AD carry of Val. And again, BKR, I really love the decision making here. They decided to just give up the Rift, or rather the Infernal Drake, because the better team fight on Val's side with all the flaring of those 3 CCs on top of the tidal wave. Look at though, he's sneaking around here against Sector Cataclysm as he used it earlier in the dual lane.
He doesn't have it. He did use the flag, but the Jag will not. But it's gonna be Malphite trying to go up against this Fiora. He is just gonna reserve the ultimate for team fight in the latter parts of the game. And now both decided to disengage. But as you can see, Bal as well as BKR, they have a few wards placed in the Rift Herald pit. Senna making her way back into the Dragon Lane side. Diana is alone there, but she will still be followed by Orianna. Lane swaps is already happening. 6 men. J4 is still inside, but you have Fiora just having for life, just jumping in with the pokes against Malphite. But J4 could make their way up Jack into the Baron. That is going to be the flanking Jack connecting onto no one. Senna being able to send out her ultimate. Will be right there. Now you have J4 with the pokes, but Bal, they do not want to overstay this, so they will just stay on the turret. J4 with the recall. Repost has been used by Fed. I'm not sure if he's gonna jump in. I mean, he can if he wants to, but he needs to remember Wukong is there.
Yeah, maybe no, though, is another fight too. Yeah, this is just a little tease between the 2v2, the junglers and the top laners. This is exactly how BKR should play, just because, again, they want to keep making sure that they can isolate the they can take advantage of this Fiora as well. I mean, that is their decision. They wanted to get the Rift Herald first instead of the Infernal Drake, leave Sector in lane, and I feel like that is what they're playing around with. It's so far, it's 8 minutes into the game, and we've only got 1 kill, first blood in favor of BKR, and it seems to me BKR time a little bit. I mean, they can rely on Shikimori for the big shockwaves and the 4-1 setup, because at the end of the day, at a 4-1 Val really doesn't have any answer for the split push.
Valkyrie are already being used by Corki there. Now, the recalls are going to come through. Still pretty scattered, thin into the map. Was able to push Malphite down under turret. Now you have Savage as well as Victor inside. That is maybe the first blood turret going over to BKR, and Malphite had no other choice but to look at his turret fall down.
Yeah, the Malphite can't really do much in the 1v2 scenario. And now for Bal, they can't out. They can use the Baron as a big bait. Again, their 5v5s are massive. You've got the package, you've got the tidal wave, you've got the big 3 layers of CC, Cataclysm, Moonfall, and then a force. And look at Savage, he's going in!
Has been used, and is even the red team being able to get that Mountain Drake. Here comes the fight though. Now you have the Shockwave coming through, but right after the fact that they saw Val get the dragon, BKR, they jump back. They do not want to pick a fight further. They do not want to have some dead to their KDAs. But now Fiora will still get on into the barrel lane side. They are gonna fully commit onto this 4-1 setup. They are most probably waiting for Shikimori as well as the Varus to go online.
Yeah, that's for Varus, I feel like we've seen a lot of these utility-focused Varuses and big piercing arrow, but it's not more it's gonna be definitely a struggle if there's so many champions that will get on your face. Unstoppable Force will just pretty much head straight to the back line. Cataclysm with a gap closer, and with a flag and drag rather for Spec. So it's really difficult to land all those piercing shots, the pokes, when you know that Val has pretty much a lot of tools on the board.
Board is right there, so the Val has a bit of a vision. Now they could juggle this one. The flag and drag is gonna connect onto no one, but Savage immediately reveals himself. This is the signal for Val to just fall back. Now still has that is gonna be the Cataclysm gonna be onto 1. You have the bubble onto 2. This is gonna be the fight that Val would want to take. Senna saying goodbye. Now you have Savage trying to jump away. He will be able to Cyclone, but he just gets meted by this Corki. Double kill going over to Katsei, and with that small skirmish win, they will be able to get the Baron, but they need to be wary of this Fiora, of this Varus. Piercing Arrow is going to come through. Now you have Corki safe on the back line, who will be able to get the Baron. That is going to be the blue team being able to get Malphite. Red team securing this Baron. Senna and the ultimate. Now that is going to be Orianna fixing her eyes on this Nami, but at the back line, you have Gandalf just ultimately bursting down the Orianna.
Really nice decision coming from Bal. After getting a kill on the jungler, just head straight to the Baron. No fear, even though the carries of BKR are pretty much alive. It all started here in this replay. It was Savage constantly wanting to find opportunities to get Sector ahead, but gets constantly punished with this collapse. The rest of Bal were pretty much all nearby, so it was an easy follow-up, and then to the Baron. And with BKR, again, having to wait for, again, Shikimori to come online to have massive shockwaves, but at the same time, Bal getting ahead, getting this Baron, and then we'll use this to siege.
Okay, that is going to be a 2 champion route. Val is just storming into the mid lane. 3-4 on the scoreboard. Gold lead though in favor of them. That is going to be the Cataclysm going to be on to thing. Now that side the way, beautifully layered CCs. Orianna the first one to say goodbye. Senna being taken down. Killing spree going over to Corki. Varus saying goodbye. It is going to be a 3-0 in favor of Val. You have Fiora lurking at the sides. You also have Wukong still up, but what could you do? Val
are they going to end?
Onto their base. they really want
They're
to
gonna
end the game, they are gonna focus. Grand Challenge already being popped, but they don't care. Bal is just focusing on the Nexus. That is gonna be the kill going over to
One more
Fiora.
auto attack.
A double kill, but they don't care again. Bal, they just want to get their hands on the Nexus and able to win the game number 3. Thought they were gonna try to fight though, but again, even though J4 was very low, he was just hitting that Nexus.
Yeah, I love how they were relentless. They were not stopping at all. The fact that they catched, again, the rest of the team off guard from BKR, Cataclysm, after that Cataclysm engage, it was GG.
It was very much GG. And yeah, I would want to see more of those fights. It was a very clean 5v5 fight, honestly. Fiora, again, was in charge of split push. So most of the time, it was a 4v5 fights, and they would just take those trades, those fights any times of the day. So again, look into the highlights of that game.
Yeah, that was a crazy, crazy game. I mean, crazy, because when we look back at day 1, day 2, there was a lot of fighting. After replay, there would be another fight. But this time it was very different. 10 minutes into the game, only 1 kill. Only first blood happened. And basically, this event affected the entire game. And it was Bal getting the Baron, double kill on Takatse, set really quickly, and then basically did the siege towards the mid lane. After getting the mid lane tower, they just basically went straight to the goal, just went straight to the Nexus. I think that's crazy.
That was a very good Cataclysm, by the way, and Tidal Wave. They could just not. The fact that Orianna was the first one to fall down, it just gave them all the more confidence to group together. There's no Shockwave. Fiora, 1v5, yeah, you will be able to get 1 or 2 kills in, but you are bound to fall down right after that. That was a very beautiful series. 2-1, that is going to be in favor of Bal. We have been your casters. Yuko alongside Ms. Riku. We are gonna hop into a very short break. Origin series comeback. We will have a series number 3.
Welcome back to the Origin series, boys and girls. We are going into our final series of the day. Here we are taking a trip down Merry Lane to Group, where me and Scoundrel, of course, we've got a lot of time invested here and lots to look forward to at Scoundrel. It's Kaizo coming up against Gamelord.
Yeah, this is going to be a really I think, beyond NTNT, there is still some shuffling, still some debate about who is the Europe, and Gamelord and Team Kaizo are the 2 biggest contenders. So this will really kind of set apart the men from the boys when it comes to the top end of the ladder.
I think at the minute, Kaizo probably saying they hold that spot as they are the team currently sat in 2nd place, qualified championship. So as you say, this one's kind of not so much a bragging rights piece, but there's definitely something to prove. Both of the teams in that top 3 to get those 3 spots into the championship. And we've seen some great gains for them. But now that talent is parked until tomorrow for that best of 5, this is where the spotlight really turns onto these 2 teams and what it is that they can do for game number 1. So let's get straight into it. At Scoundrel, talk to me about what it is that you're expecting to see in this series between these teams.
Yeah, I think realistically, there's going to be a lot of contest in the jungle. I think they've got 2 very strong junglers, and so Andre versus Foray is going to be a really, really interesting one specifically. As I said before, I think Team Kaizo's weaknesses lie on the bottom, and Gamelord have got a relatively strong, bot lane. I think they've got a good support AD carry combo, so I expect that to be somewhere where we see a bit of attention turned to. Gamelord in general tend to sticks rather than carries, so Random seems to be more of like a for the team style player, and we've seen Acolyte rather be a bit more carry orientated in the NTNT series. There'll be interest stacks up, and you can see the Fiora ban comes through here specifically towards Acolyte, so he's not going to get his hands on that.
I mean, looking back over the game that got played a couple of days ago between Gamelord and Team Kaizo, we saw the Garen in the top lane. Wukong and Lee Sin were big priority picks for them as well. But Gamelord starting things off with that Darius coming through here. Again, looking towards the top side. Last time that was picked up by Gamelord, so it feels like both a pick for themselves, but also to deny it away from the side of Team Kaizo.
Yeah, the Darius is getting high priority here. It's a pick that is very easy to deal with, and I'm suddenly starting to see a lot of things from Team Kaizo already that are showing like ease of dealing with Darius, like quite nicely with his ultimate. Senna, when she picks up Iceborne Gauntlet, can kite nicely against the Darius and has the root. have the CC with the Galio. I think Game Lord have drafted a very aggressive, we need to get a him style draft here, whereas Team Queso have gone for something that's a bit more peel back, a little bit more play from the back line, play back to front, although then they just randomly draft Olaf, so ignore that. That's sort of a big pick to deny from Game Lord. I think that's a strong pick that we generally tend to see those guys pick up, and it's going to be a Lux support, which is not something that we've seen for quite some time.
Earlier on, we did see the Olaf in the top lane in, I believe it was Group C, being used primarily to run down onto those more immobile, back towards Lux, looking towards Kaiser there. Sure, there's a lot to be excited about to see what he can do in this game. But Let's Wait Gnome is already ready. Let's get into map number 1 of this best of 3 and see how it plays out, because there's a lot of pride on the line and a shot for vengeance against No Team, No Talent tomorrow on the line for these teams.
And you'd think that both teams will want to take a stab at that. Just given the dominance of No Team, No Talent right now in the European scene, you'd think that realistically both teams are hungry to get back and try to take some confidence away from No Team, No Talent before we head to the later finals this year. I think it will be very important, to kind of at least get one little heads up over them before we head to later in the tournament.
Looking forward to the early game as well and seeing what the impact is of these junglers, because today so far across both there's been a heavy influence from junglers, especially in the early game, looking towards the likes of Sin to get themselves involved and make some things happen. Of course, you're looking towards Zeta, though, to be doing the same on the Xin. Maybe not as mobile or as impactful as you might wager the Lee Sin would be in those first few levels once they hit level towards seeing what impact could potentially be made. But you know that when it comes to that mid-game, that's when you'll really start seeing the Xin fly.
It is one of those jungle picks that will really excel if you get ahead, but if you fall behind, he can feel very play, and especially because you're going into you've got a strong I like playing Olaf top, very interesting. We don't get to see as much of that, but you've got strong kind of heavy melee presence on Team Queso, and that's one of the things that I think Xin struggles with. Like, he's very much a ranged jungler with that ultimate being able to buy him a lot of space and a lot of invulnerability from those ranged threats. But you've got a lot of melee threats from Team Queso here, and that's where something that Zefdom struggling with. I love that the Lux pick from Scout into lane here from Evu and Memorized. I think Senna, one of those picks that is very easy to put pressure on if you Lux and you can catch her in the binding, and I think it's a very risky lane as well to play into Azen now, because they're very gank sort of vulnerable too.
But then almost ending in disaster for the Olaf to get himself back away, no problem at all. Flash going down from both of the top laners. You might see a little bit of exposure coming in, given both of them are relatively immobile, so some focus should be coming in from the likes of the Lee Sin, of the Xin Zhao, potentially making an impact. One thing I did want to touch on looking at it is the comp coming out from Game Lord as well just screams to me, please try and engage on this, because it'll be an absolute nightmare if they do, given it's the Darius, it's the Xin Zhao, everything for them. This is a bit aggressive coming out of Queso, trying to catch on to Vaxaway, managed to get the recall here. It does mean there'll be a bit of a waves loft though into this bottom tower for the side of Game Lord.
Just the kind of picks they've got actually lack sort of strong engage tools in their own right. Like, you need to land Xin Zhao skill shots to get the strong off, or a Lux binding or a charm. They overall lack strong engage. It's very easy for them to peel back and kite back when they're engaged upon. And whereas Team Queso, they want to try and land ultimate, the Lee Sin Galio combo that we tried to see pulled off there. So they do want to make those engages happen. And yeah, I love this on Game Lord, but they're not actually going to commit to it too hard, because as you can see, Acolyte's clearing that wave out very quickly, and it was a risky play to make.
As well with that W being active too, so try and dive onto when he's just over half HP, sat about that 60% mark. They are really keen to get the Darius snowballing, and understandably, right? 1 or 2 items in a mid-game team fight, he will destroy anyone who comes anywhere near him, and if nothing else, could be a parent to Acolyte just popping on that ultimate and charging his way through into the back line to try and get rid of, say, Lux, or perhaps even Bezos, depending on where it is that he goes with his ultimate, if it is a more aggressive one. I've made it X-Scoundrel to that 4-minute mark, almost with no deaths to say that. Caster Curse comes to life. It's Show being picked off in the bot lane at perfect time, because that Drake is about to come online. You're going to see the Rift Herald coming online at the same time. Lots of coming in here from the side of Queso.
And no one here to back up Redemption either on this bot side of the map. Now we're past, it was still pre-4 minutes, which is going to make this tower relatively tanky. And with that Lux ultimate, they should a serious amount of damage going down onto the bot lane tier 1. Dre is actually going to back off here. They have got that set up. Cloud Dragon is one of the more undervalued the game. You can just see here, it was a simple catch. Chain CC, the chain route coming out from both the sets. and the Varus there. Not much to write home about. They just managed to catch out the Lux. However, not managed to convert it into anything. And they took that back timing that's allowed Game Lord to just get onto the... And I don't really think there's a good answer here. As you can, yeah, exactly. You can already see. I think Andre might just be dead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the flash forward came forward out of the random once more. Does find a kill. Will trade his life back for it. 2 assists and a kill. Maybe not the ideal outcome for you, but they will likely trade objectives. Top side still being focused down by Kaizo. Game Lord right now showing no interest in it. Just want to put their focus instead on towards this bottom tower.
Yeah, well, they actually are going to go straight for this bottom lane tier 1. No one there to defend it, as we saw both the Varus and the Senna commit to the middle side of the map. Don't even have to drop the Rift Herald here. Game Lord are going to pick up the tier 1 on bot for free. And as we always talk about, Derry, there's always like a bit of a discussion around value of first Rift Herald if you end up losing the first tower anyway. And that means you've kind of cut back on the power of the Rift Herald. Don't get me wrong, it's not useless. There are still things that you want to achieve with Rift Herald, including breaking mid lane tier 1 to open up the map, or creating a bit of natural priority in a lane for that second dragon spawn. But Game Lord have got dragon, and they picked up first tower whilst only trading Rift Herald. That is an excellent first 5 minutes of the game here for Game Lord.
Just a very smart response, I think, is the best way to describe it coming out. A bit of a replay on this top side. Look, I mean, Moore's got away for a second, I think, and the flash coming over. Too late once you got those passive stacks already set up at 5 and almost was in a position to potentially turn it back around onto Acolyte, who was looking pretty low himself, without that ultimate reset being there because it wasn't the tool of death for Lee Sin. Nothing else really to come off the back of it.
But that is another tower in the bank here for Game Lord. They are going to trade that bot lane tier 1, so it should be tower for tower overall. You can see that Vejos not able to clear that out. A lot of actually prioritizing Ahri here. I think often when you're going into Team Queso, because you're going into Ruiz, you might see people sort of take Ahri away. I think that's part of the reason that we saw Game Lord do that. Ruiz is a very strong Ahri player. It looks like Acolyte might actually get caught out here, and
yeah, I mean, the ult comes through and it's pretty much done. But you are right. We saw what Ruiz could do on that champ. The Ahri, absolutely terrifying. So even if not strictly your strongest pick, it is about denying him, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I think, especially if you think that their mid laner have the same kind of efficacy on other picks, I think it's a strong tactic either way. But you can actually see he's doing all right. He's got Rod of Ages finished up at 6 minutes into the game. He's got 1-0-0. Hasn't exactly had the map impact that you'd expect a Darius to have, but realistically, there hasn't really been many opportunities to kind of flex your globals in this game right now. It's been very split, very kind of like individual skirmishes, and there is only a small amount of gold separating these two teams as we get to that 7-minute mark. And I think we have seen that Rift Herald go down as well. So for that second, Andre.
Yeah, caught out of position there, melted down. You saw the combo coming a little bit late for reason. I was going to comment on maybe you see Acolyte charge into the back line, the Galio ult onto him, uninterrupted, and they turn that into one hell of a wombo. But with one being burnt down, Andre here, there isn't really anything else they can worry about fighting for now. Besides, it's not the end of the world, but could start looking to square up a little bit of pressure here if they wanted to get this mid wave pushed in and try and pressure in towards Kaizo's inner tower. But I think clear right now, just a little bit too strong.
I think that's one thing that Kaizo have got really going in their favor. Well, actually, both teams have got going in their favor. You've got really wave clear. Both Lux and Ahri wave clear really nicely. Senna, Varus wave clear really well, as well as the Galio having the Winds of War that does the same thing. It is, pending no huge team fight wins, to actually get that opportunity to shove in a wave and take down any major objective. Mid lane prio is firmly in favor of Team Queso right now, because of that Varus being so strong at pushing waves in. That will be important for the next dragon that's spawning, Derry. 20 seconds the Inferno. I expect both teams to get into position. You can already order resetting to get onto the map. We don't have teleport for Darius, and he is committing to the top side of the map here.
Yeah, that's the big concern, I think. I mean, you maybe see both of them hang up towards that TP on side, so it could just be a 4 versus 4 skirmish around the straight, to be honest with you. But it's all about the engage. Who first? Where does it start? It's going to be the Ahri going in, but missing the charm. Good dodge away, but otherwise that could have ended in disaster. If the binding followed up from the Lux, for example, things wouldn't have gone well. So the dance resumes for now. The Rift Herald is coming out to put down some more pressure. Is it going to be enough to guarantee them getting this Drake away?
Yeah, I've got the priority instead. We've got the Olaf here who's going to drop into the team fight.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, charging the way through. Walks away with a slither of HP. No, laid out by the Lux. However, what else can they find off the right now? Not an awful lot. A lot of blows being exchanged, but everyone limping away rather than dying throughout the fight. Ultimately, it's Kaizo left dominant force in this one. They secure the Drake. Andre picking that one up, but look at the mid lane coming through. Really smart counterplay coming out of Gamelord and should be able to...
Yeah, they'll be able to pick up that mid lane tier 1. They'll escape with very small amounts of HP in their favor. But look how quickly we might just see mid lane tower for mid lane tower here. Although I say that Redemption and Zephyr looking for the in-game.
I'll make this one happen. Yeah, can they burn through the Galio in the front line? He's a bit of a tank and he's going back in again. The dunk comes through. One does go the way, but it's traded back and forth between the two. It kind of stops at that kill coming out for Andre. No other kills being traded, but the teams again flashing health bars everywhere. The laser not quite what they expected. Oh, and in goes the Ari, not quite able to do enough, but lockdown might be able to get finished off. Absolutely not. Olaf not able to catch coming in.
Yeah, you can just see though that team fight. I wonder if we do get a chance to have a look back at that, but particularly I think what you saw was a lot of resources being expended on the Olaf, and by the time that the Olaf had dropped, everybody else really couldn't get into range of just the consistent range. Back again. Oh no, this is a little bit later. My bad. Never mind. Nice catch here from the Galio. Sets up a double kill really nicely off the back of Andre, just getting that red away on to Random. But the power of the Senna and the Varus as this game scales up, just able to keep the rest of that team at arm's length once the losing abilities have kind of already been used.
That's it, right? It's good teams here as well to keep the threats at bay on either side. At 5 and 4, still a 2.5k gold lead for Gamelord, currently established and in place. 1 Drake apiece, 3 Gamelord. That's where you're seeing much of that gold coming from. And as we get towards this kind of mid, heading in towards the later stages of here, about another 5 minutes or so until we really hit that point of the later game team. Looking across the comps, what's currently standing out to you as the big picks on side in terms of items here? Because you're seeing, for example, quite an off-tank that we're very used to seeing coming out of the Olaf here. Maybe not going to be able to beef all the way through to the back line through that counter-engaged front line with the Xin and the Darius. But if he gets in there and starts managing to wail away on one of those carries, we know how that'll go. And speaking of carries, down the Ari in the top lane.
Yeah, nice pickup here because it should allow them to pick tier 1 for free. Good bit of gold injection back over towards Team K. So really like a boxing match this game, just taking any kind of edge that they can. Looks like Zesta's going long flank though, looking for a way to set up and back up Random here. You can see the rest of Team K are trying to buy time, allow Acolyte to get to this fight, trying to keep them at arm's length wherever they can, but that's not what you want.
I mean, LA range not the one that you want at all. Should find himself going down here, and they've managed to sandwich them out. In comes Acolyte for the support, but is it too little too late? Apparently not. The Barbarian going a little bit nuts. No, low HP everywhere, but the heal then was enough. They might be able to burn their way through the Olaf here. Rui's looking low. Random going back in for the finish. Absolute clean up from the side of Gamelord in what looked pretty dicey at points, but they make it work.
And they're going to go straight for Baron off the back of this as well. It really felt like Acolyte had the chance to turn this on it, not have that ultimate available, and got minced right at the start of that fight. Chain CC'd up and unfortunately was able to really make his mark felt in that small skirmish. Everybody else, unfortunately, just a little bit disjointed. Back at it here, unfortunately, as you mentioned, Memorize getting caught out. Not what you wanted. He was just in. You really don't want to be get Darius hooked. He didn't even get bound up by nothing. Just straight up Darius hooked there for Memorized. And that was a beautiful Lux ultimate. Watch Acolyte here. Doesn't have his ultimate available. Looking to try his mark felt, but the chain CC comes through. If this was an ultimate Olaf with ultimate, it might have been a different fight. I've been able to clean up more effectively. Moments away from really turning that fight on its head. Another pick here onto Andre, and Team K struggling versus Gamelord right now, and you can really see Random. We talked a little bit about how the melee focus from Team. Oh my god, it's disgusting.
This would be another one.
We talked about how the melee focus from K been good into Xin Zhao, but it's not very good into Darius. That's really what Darius loves. Like people that are melee, really big heals off with that decimate. Obviously then able to find targets to ultimate with, and that's a really nice pickup from them because I think they saw how Kai'Sa was looking to set up to be, and Random was just able to pick up one of his best champions because it fit this composition so well.
Early on, mind you, as well, they're saying, ultimately, what does a Darius want? He wants a team that is going to engage into him, and he has been gifted. Wanting to charge in, Lee Sin wanted to play for a kick and burn all of his cooldowns in the process, the Galio to pile in it on top as well. It is just working in Random's favor so well, and they prioritize that win condition in the early game with the constant presence coming out of Zephyr. At this point, they're running away with it. A Scoundrel 13-5, a 10k gold lead at the 14-minute mark. Hard to see how Kai'Sa fight their way back into this.
I think it might be difficult, but one thing that they've got going in their favor is, oh no, well that's not going in their favor. Just another nice little charm there from Vejos. We'll take a look back at, is this where Andre gets picked off? Oh no, that must have happened earlier. Sorry, I think I got a little confused. I I was briefly perplexed by why we were replaying to what was a Lee Sin back. Never mind.
It's a weird form of Inception where you're not sure what's a replay anymore.
Exactly. I'm a little bit confused about what's a replay and what isn't. Memorize, though, is probably one of the key things that I think is going in favor of Team Queso. They don't have a lot of scaling, but they do have a Varus, and they scale pretty nicely. Unfortunately, Olaf and Lee drop off the planet. Obviously, Galio is kind of a moderate scaler, but really a mix of damage and utility that he brings. But both the Varus and the Senna can scale quite nicely here, but specifically that Senna, you're going to get through souls will be a key way of trying to accelerate this. He's trying to find your way back into this game, because that's the one that you really want to keep your distance, that massive Senna range to keep your distance versus the Darius. I'm not really sure what Andre is looking for here. We got a fight.
Or redemption, potentially. I mean, the Zhonya's coming from there because everyone else forced to flash away off the back of it. Even with things potentially looking to go the way of Keizo, shut down pretty much immediately in redemption and ult on side if required. So a good bit of poke coming out of Game Lord there, just stepping in and letting them know exactly where they're at. They're inside their own blue jungle, but no, right now it is Game Lord's jungle with 15 seconds to go until this Baron is back online. Looking towards Andre, who in this spot won't quite get caught out. Support coming in from the Galio, but that is one of their big crucial engage tools. We see Galio into the Olaf ultimate coming off, and how that would combo so well together. That's now been shut down because Rus is forced to use the ultimate to keep his team alive.
And that's a really important one for these big... Oh, wait a second. Are we catching out randomly? I mean, I would be might be able to find the dunk.
I mean, he finds it, and it's onto the jungler. That's now the rest of the team can focus on doing Baron. No one's here to smite steal it away. 50 HP with the smite, one of those ones you look at and say on a different day, maybe that goes the other way, but no one was present from Keizo to even contest. And it's an easy closeout for Game Lord. Now, yes, it's a 4 versus 4, but they've got Baron, and that is a juicy wave sat in the top lane.
Yeah, and it's quite difficult now to clear these waves effectively. And you can see that the bot lane providing a little bit of distraction here for Team Queso means that Game Lord will bounce in this top lane inhibitor tower. They're not going to be able to go down and towards the Nexus. They're very happy to just have these 2 permanent objectives off the map because, of course, in the next few minutes, we're going to be having that Elder Dragon spawn, which will be another big point of contention. I really feel like if you are planning to get back into this game, you have to make that stand at the Elder Dragon here for Team.
Yeah, that 2 inhibitor tower down point is the bit you start to worry, right? It becomes incredibly hard to get any kind of push in those. Anything that can give you a bit of fight back, and you know that bottom one is likely to go flying very shortly as well. We're touching on 74 stats currently on the Senna. It's on the losing side, as otherwise it might be. But we saw yesterday how once you start getting towards that mark, you become an absolute terror with the range that you can build. Also, I think it's a little bit too little, a little bit too late. At least it's something to know that that's still building up on side.
It's like that crucial break point where you really... Oh, random!
That's the catch you're looking for as well, burning their way. I mean, random is still... At this point, no one has gone down on either side just yet. Again, more dance back and forth. Andre full HP off to the side, but they can do nothing to stop the 3rd tower going down. Zefta potentially a bit too far for a couple of seconds, but Game Lord got what they came for, their tower, and they've walked away with their backs turned, their attention now turning towards the Drake.
They really have complete map pressure. Baron, a single inhibitor drop. This is going to be very difficult for Team Queso to fight. Even just get off the area around the dragon. They're going to be able to solo it with the Kai'Sa whilst they have and the Lux running interruption here. Don't really know if Team Queso can actually fight this one because they're going to be having minions pull their base. They'll always have to be concerned about a potential teleport as well. As you can see, is coming through. And Game Lord just very happy to allow Cut work whilst those charms and the rest of the team run distraction around this Elder Dragon.
That's what you want to do, right? To keep him away, stop them going in to try and go for the steal. And sure enough, Zefta's the one now in the front line, though, trying to burn their way. The Olaf, who does go dangerously low, but not quite finished off and off to the side, potentially getting the assassination. But it's the Darius in the front line that's the one to keep an eye on, not the one who walks away with the kills. That will be the Lux, and Andre up there watching the rest of his team fall around him. The last man standing floor of Game Lord. Game number 1, comfortably going the way of Game Lord.
Yeah, they looked very strong here. I love that Darius draft into a heavy melee composition, and they were able to very early stage here. I think, unfortunately, there was just 2 different thematics in the Team Queso composition. You have a Varus and a set range. They want to play a little bit more front to back, and then you just randomly stick the own potential lane matchup into the Darius. You technically should win that early lane before level 5 especially, but it didn't work out in terms of what the comp wanted to do. Neither did the Lee Sin particularly work in that sense either. It was a little bit of a disjointed comp from Queso this time around, and Game Lord drafted quite intelligently to deal with some of the major threats that they had in these team fights.
We talk about that a little bit further, because you speak about this bot lane. It did start out well, right? They had that catch potential. It came through wonderfully for them, and you could the follow-up was these long-range carries playing in the back of the Senna and the Varus, with the front line going crazy with the Olaf coming in off the back of a Galio, or Galio 1 on top of the Olaf Engage Sora to control the early game, but it didn't really transpire that way. That first blood down in the bot lane, off the back, nothing else really went their way because we saw that's when it became the Zephyr and Rando.
And the river control was so good from Gamelord pretty much all game round. There just wasn't enough good vision in the key areas of the map. Andre got caught way too much. You can see Random, even though Gamelord were actually able to find something in, you could still see just how powerful Random was into this melee comp. Ruiz, unfortunately, away from Ahri on just meant that he wasn't quite able to have the impact that he maybe wanted. I mean, Memorize just way too close. I think that's the story of the game. They never really managed to play the comp range the way they wanted to. And unfortunately, it meant that they were getting pulled into these scrappy skirmishes that really, when Acolyte didn't have that ultimate available, were just far too easy for Gamelord to win.
A little bit too comfortable as the game went on, even though it looked like Kaizo were in there to win it, at least early in the game. Talking of next game, though, because game 2 will be ready for us very, very soon. We're expecting to see in the draft what needs to change between both sides here, because as we always say, the onus is on the losers to be the ones that change. The winners really want to.
Yeah, well, I think, again, because I imagine sides might switch. I mean, it really depends on what case they want to choose. Blue side has had a strong advantage from some of the other series that we've seen throughout the Origin series. I would say... I think you need to rethink if you're Queso. Like, if you're drafting Varus, you need to play, draft a comp that's able to keep the enemy at range for. Like, I'd love to have seen, I think Gragas got banned, but you need to draft a comp that's more comfortable playing at range, is a little bit more counter engage rather than straight up engage, because you do want to kind of at least buy space for that Varus to just throw those consistently. Senna, again, loves to play that range, loves to play these team fights slower. Whereas I think Team Queso just got too hyphy. They were too dragged into the brawling type quick engages that put both Varus and Senna into awkward positions and also played right into the Darius' hands from Game Lords, which is what we saw in a lot of those skirmishes.
Let's see if Queso can fix mistakes going into game 2. It's time because it's ready. Game 2 then, some changes to be made for Queso as we have just discussed, but for Game Lords showing their prowess in the mid to late game, Queso are the ones who I feel really need to be taking that lead in lanes or in the early game to get the snowball going that will keep them ahead of game.
Yeah, I think, we saw yesterday that Queso were able to take games off NTNT, and so they clearly have what it takes to be, at that level required to take down people like Game Lord as well. We'll say that a little caveat to that is I think that NTNT's draft that game was absolutely garbo. But I think really, Queso were a good team, especially strong in the jungle and top side. I felt like Andre had a uncharacteristically poor game, which is weird because he absolutely slapped me in solo years ago. But no, he had an uncharacteristically poor game. And I think, being one of the main drivers for their win conditions here, especially a top-tier jungler like Lee Sin, the early impact, if you're not making your presence felt in the first 5 minutes of the game, you are going to struggle, I think, to come back and have more of an impact as they get towards that mid and late game stages.
Well, let's take a look to know what the picks are. You speak about that early game pressure if it needs to come through in the draft for Queso. Akali, as it is always be here in Group A, followed up by the most staple bans that we're currently seeing this patch.
And not even just competitive. I think solo queue Akali has been the #1 ban champion for quite some time now. She's ridiculous strong. Corki going to get taken away. We will see the Ziggs and the Gragas again. It's very interesting to me that Game Lord are banning Gragas. I know likes to play it, and I know Memorize likes to play it in support as well, but Random is a big Gragas player. In fact, I think Gragas is Random's #1. So I think it's interesting that Game Lord are choosing to ban that themselves. Maybe they're scared of a case of Gragas first pick, but Xin Zhao and it will be Galio, but Camille left open, and Queso very happy to lock that in.
I mean, the Gragas ban just screams to me there are other things we want to be playing here that we feel he can have a greater impact on, and for them, we hope at least it's not going to be Fiora in the jungle, as you alluded to a little bit yesterday, that it should be this Fiora in the top lane, Random potentially matching up against the Camille.
I think, especially because Acolyte is locked in Andre is locked in the Kha'Zix here. That is, I think, right now his most played champion in solo queue, and so he's going back to comfort for a really important game. Kha'Zix is in a strong spot. I don't think Kha'Zix is in as strong of a spot in competitive as he is in solo queue, if I'm completely honest with you, especially the Lee Sin. But the fact that Senna's left open and has got it through to this stage of the draft might make us see would go for a true fasting Senna. I actually really don't like with a ranged AD carry. I think it's actually a really bad lane setup. I think if you're going to play Senna, you play Senna with a type of carry in the bot lane. And the fact that Zed locked
Is that
in?
Orianna bot?
That might be fast Orianna bot with Zed mid, which mind again. You do lose level. You do lose level here. I will talk about it a little bit more in game. You lose level advantage here, but obviously you do get that, which is what Orianna does need as well.
I like it. I like it. You know what I like more? The fact that Game 2 is ready. Let's get into it. The Rift is ready. We'll see exactly what it is that's bot lane. We are expecting it will be that Orianna heading on down point up with the Senna. Indeed, that looks to be the case. Okay, as we expected coming into it, a Scoundrel. Talk to me about this matchup then. How do you think it plays out for the Senna with the Orianna outside of clearly tons coming in against a Nami and a Kai'Sa?
Well, I think you've got a clear range advantage. That's the first clear range advantage. You match the sustain of the Nami, if like a little bit less, but you really are matching that sustain of the Nami. Is that I think does make Orianna relatively strong in the bot lane is that ability to deal a lot of damage with the attack dissonance combo from a very early stage. And I think the trading potential of the Nami will be limited in that sense. So yeah, I think it's going to bully, and you should be able to bully this lane and kind of have a free way to farm soul. You should be able to use that range and just constantly proc Senna's passive to gain souls from both the Nami and the Kai'Sa. But overall, I think it's going to be a relatively subdued lane. I'm not expecting a lot of kills from that Senna and Orianna.
You say that now until Zefta starts turning up and they do get the lockdown coming out of Redemption. That's to potentially be excited about. But as you say, maybe it's going to be a peaceful one. We'll keep an eye on it and see how it shapes up. I love the top lane matchup that we've got, by the way. Camille, Fiora, always super explosive, as we know that it can be. And in the late game, if they're given enough time in the side lanes, they just turn into absolute monsters in every single team fight.
Should, on paper, be an absolutely one-sided matchup for Fiora. It's a very difficult matchup for the Camille to win. Rui's actually flush. I think he's dead.
Yeah, he's dead. Yeah, the Ignite came through as well. No way he walks away.
A good little pick up there, and you can see Zefta. I think Zefta's been criminally sort of in the Origin series from the last times that I've seen him. He's a jungler that deserves to get his name out there a little bit more than he's been able to. This series showing you why Zefta is in a strong spot. You can see Random just playing a little bit safe, but the lane is in such a grin for him right now, and he doesn't want to miss out on experience. He doesn't have the support on this lane wave, but luckily Acolyte pushes it back very quickly for him, so he'll be able to stay under the tower.
Absolutely. You can see here how this all played out as well. I think Ruiz knew straight away, completely out of position as well. I mean, the wall was down on the bottom side, expecting to there. Instead, found him coming in from the top side, completely unawares of where it was coming from, and that resulted in blood. A good start for Gamelord, carrying on as they ended the last game with a small gold lead here, and a great start for the mid and jungler.
Yeah, Zed is another one of those champions that you do start to see more of right now in the current meta. I think this is an interesting gank from Andre because we have that ultimate available.
Yeah, I mean, the double out as well, so he can't exactly walk away, but he wants to go in again. Guess who they go for? The one who's not going to be the Ahri. Gets taken down. Maybe looking to try and trade something back, and they do find the Zed in response. So Andre, enough damage coming out there to think comes back, but like you mentioned, that level 5 was there, and it works out wonderfully in their favor.
Yeah, I think a 1-for-1 situation, though, is good, especially if you're injecting gold.
The
Andre.
kick. Goodbye. Easy peasy.
Easy peasy, Zefta on a roll, and that's why that Kha'Zix's not so strong and competitive, especially versus a well-coordinated jungler with a Lee Sin. I think it's a difficult matchup to make work in your favor. But yeah, as you said, level 5 coming up for Zed. The one thing that Ahri's got going in favor in this particular matchup is that when the Zed uses his ultimate, you can charm him straight out of it. It's very obvious when he's going to appear on top of you, and it's something that works for the Ahri pretty much every time. But Zed in a strong spot right now overall because of the Seralda's Grudge edition. It's item absolute rush here for most Zeds, if not second item, and it is such a spike for him in general because you use your ultimate, any of your abilities, and you instantly slow me, so more of your abilities and more of your thing.
It's a bit of a kicker as well. I mean, the fact that it's got the 30% armor pan on it with the 45A is pretty nutty. And don't, of course, forget that 20 ability haste stacked on top. We absolutely laugh in there because every single one of those stats is basically a dream coming in for a Zed. But the Ghostblade, the first one, of course, you expect to be finished off. But watch as we step further through the game because the same normally for a Senna as we get into the mid stages of the game as well. So potentially lots of slows, lots of disruptive abilities coming out. The one thing that kind of concerns me, I think, for Gamelord more than anything, really any massively hard CC on the team. Outside of, say, the Zed route coming out of Redemption, it's a bit limited in that department I'm concerned about. You might wager the same on the other side, but at least there's Ahri Charm into Bubble, for example. But for me, if nothing else, it's a very scrappy game full of things like slows, but less so in the department of hard CC.
No, I I think you're pretty much on the money when it comes to pure team fighting capabilities in Gamelord. But I think with Fiora, you're not really looking for pure team fighting capabilities. You're looking for smaller skirmishes. You're looking for side lane pressure. Yeah, you can already see. Andre has turned up, though.
I mean, this will be a 3 versus 2 in the tower. Still able to get across, comes the shield from the back, but the burst damage is a bit too much. One goes down, but reinforcements have. This could be a cleanup. Gamelord punished for their overcommitment to this dive, and it's a double kill coming in for the kind of person you want that gold on. It's going to be.
And there is nothing that Gamelord is getting in response here either. Both Redemption and Scowl just farming in their side lanes. Even end up losing this tier 1 turret on the top for their attempted dive. It's risky to dive a Camille as well. No matter if you're 3-manning, no matter if you're Camille, it's very slippery. You could take a look here, though. It was telegraphed from Gamelord. They knew exactly what was happening here, Kaysto, and they get a nice kick. They managed to take out Andre again. It is still a very difficult dive to a lot of work. Too random on the top side, and honestly, you can see a huge commit for absolute loss as well. 14k.
This is the thing that really punished GK in their game earlier on against Cut, is trying to force plays when they were ahead that they really didn't need to make. This time, at least, they do get 1 kill. You gotta be careful that Ibu, and in comes the Ari as well still. Just narrowly misses out, but the Ignite is there. Cool guys don't look at explosions. They also don't look at fire, as down goes the Zed.
Just knew that he was able to get that with no tier 1 tower to protect him. It was a very easy little tap of the Ignite button to secure the kill. Again, though, in competitive, it's not really about the kills per se, it's about what you're getting from them. And right now, both teams just really taking kills for the sake of that little extra gold injection, rather than anything map right now, which you can see only 1 tower having dropped. Still a relatively even game, only about 700 gold separating the 2 teams right now. One person that we are going to need to is Scowl. He's basically been out of this game, farming in the bot lane by himself. Majority has picked up a very early stasis enchant and has finished up his Seraphs as well. So those are not really item spikes that are massively impressive in terms of damage for the Orianna. I've got to be a little careful here, Acolyte, but they're not massively damage items for the Orianna. Really, you're waiting for that Leandries to be completed and the Rabadons that you want to look for. You can see 5 souls here for Redemption. That's quite slow on the souls, actually. I'd say a good barometer in general. If you're having a if you get 20 souls by 4 minutes. So this is a relatively slow center game for Redemption here.
I guess you've got to also consider the fact that ping in this game going on, there's some roaming work. Acolyte may be in trouble here. Great connect on the Q that might get bounced back onto the side. But let's not forget as well, you and I saw this a couple of days ago where Ascendo was at say 7 minutes. We were like, man, that's really... By the time we got to the 14-minute mark, that had double or tripled up to being... So it is possible that teams can get there. It just really accelerates in the mid-game as the skirmishes really start to kick off, free to kind of roam and get involved in collecting those stacks.
In general, what you'll start to see Ascendo do is like mirror jungle camps to ensure that she's able to pick the free jungle. Oh my god!
That from Andre, damn,
he's got 2 items. I mean, that's not even only 2 items. He's got 2 items. That's actually pretty impressive. I think he's the only person in the game to have 2 items. Has clearly skipped out on his boots, but he's got 2, and he's hurting.
Yeah, I mean that one was out the bush as well. So of course you get the Dustblade too. So fair enough. And Show, as we know, down sat there on just the 1 item. Shout or Show? Honestly,
mate, I literally don't know. I
want to say it's Show. It's fair saying Show, but at this point, I'm not going to ask. I'm too scared. See what it builds up into, though, because he has, of course, got the fully stacked tier on the go. In goes the dive. Andre straight into the middle. Not normally where he gets, but it works out just fine. 1 kill comes through for them. Double hopping himself away back to safety, and now down in the front line. Zephyr, if my mind's telling me no, his body's telling him yes. All the way through to a low HP member and gets himself killed off the backside of it. 2 members are down, and here comes Vejos. This one is all down to Ibu by himself. Now the question is, who gets the kill? The answer is Orianna.
They're going to drop that Rift Herald and won't quite get in. It is a 2-for-1 overall, but the Ocean Drake, the Mountain Drake and the Cloud Drake now up by Team Kaysto. It means the Infernal's next, and it will be an Ocean this time round. But actually, I think if you're Gamelord, I think you have huge scaling advantage if you're Gamelord here, especially because you have a Senna Orianna. I think you're okay. You know, you're only 1,200 gold behind. You're not that bothered about sort of low impact dragons. If you take a look back here, realistically, despite all of the might that are happening in this fight right now, I'm not really sure why Gamelord even fight. Like, they were well out of position for Dragon. They were way too Dragon. Yeah, okay, maybe they thought they had a team fight advantage using the Orianna, but I'm just not really sure why they wanted to fight. It just seemed like a really stupid fight to act, if I'm completely honest with you, especially because at this stage of the game, you're still scaling up those core components of your composition.
Oh, I mean, there's the burst coming through that you love to see out of us. The 1 member, in this case, Acolyte, the one falling by the wayside. I want to touch on though, Andre in that previous fight. I mean, look, I know the guy's got 2 items, but when he dived in like that, I was so nervous. Almost got saved by Zepter and his kit coming away. The Kha'Zix was getting out, and rather than bursting down, they opted to kick him away. He managed to escape with his life off the back of it. A misplay if he wanted to by Zepter, but here comes their focus onto the bottom tower. For rounds to do anything about it, GameLord will pick up a tower and keep that goal super narrow. It's only 200 gold between these two teams.
I'll be completely honest with you. If I ever see a card to face tank 5 people without any isolation bonuses, I'm like, God, that is a soul bonanza for redemption there. I ever tried to see a Kha'Zix like face tank 5 people in a team fight, I'm worried, if I'm completely honest with you. But yeah, looks like it was a charm onto redemption. He's going to end up going down. Nice little pick off by Ruiz. Again, we have mentioned before, if Ruiz gets the opportunity to play Ahri, he's going to play Ahri. And this game, obviously, when the chips are down, has picked it up.
Again, of course, picked it away. Great charm lands again, showing again his strength. Fiora blocking out a lot of that damage with the riposte. And in comes the tidal wave. No one going down, but a lot of damage members on the side of Gain to back away. Kaiser should have the run of the map here for a couple of minutes.
Oh, they were just looking to defend that mid lane tier 1, though. They knew that they had to burn resources to do it, but it's important to keep that alive for as long as you can, because that really keeps your ability to have control around objectives. If you have that tier 1 up, you always have an area of respite where you can back to ensure that you're able to reset towards Baron, get towards Infernal Drake. If you don't have it, the enemy's allowed to push much deeper vision into your jungle, and it makes it much riskier for you to set up for objectives and step up to actually. So I think it's a sensible decision to commit to keep that alive, especially as the Infernal Drake is about to spawn. Your approach to the Infernal Drake that much easier to make happen.
Absolutely, okay. A terrible spot either side, still very, very close when you look at the golden side of things. And the scariest thing is Ruiz isn't going to be too getting that. In fact, he's just bought the death cap, just finished it off, so that kind of territory. A bit of a silly pick-up on the bottom side here as well. Ibu in a space he really shouldn't have been, picked up by the Lee Sin and by the Fiora. Too close from pulling that one back.
No, I think realistically that, oh no, why did you stay random? I mean, if they if Zepter can get the kill here, looks like they're going to take out Memorized. He's just straight up dead. If Zepter can get the kill Ruiz, that'll be a really nice pickup, and it should be a free Infernal Drake, realistically.
Should be a free because no ult on the Ahri means a lot of that power is missing the ability there, and sure enough, Zepter collects it back. So, bit of a clown for Pinata party in the bottom lane at Scoundrel. Members being traded on both sides, and now it's Zepter that's in trouble. He's the one being caught. TP coming through. This is where you back away, Redemption. You tend not to stay for these kind of fights, and Andre, sure enough, should be able to pick free until the Zed comes in for a bit of support. So what could have been a Drake going across their way is no longer. To these 4 members of GameLord coming in are going to be able to fight it away. They can't do it because they don't have a jungler, but at the very most they can deny it away from Kaiser.
I think that's important, just denying it from Kaiser here. I do like ability of GameLord to just say, nope, okay, we could try and burst this out. We have a man advantage, but it could very easily get stolen. So we're not going to make that happen. And now we find a reset again for this big neutral objective. You can see the Team Kaiser, because they've seen Zed at show top, they are going straight in for this, and they'll get it for free. Unfortunately, GameLord may have had to take that risk realistically. They weren't able to reset and get back onto the map. And Redemption, what are you doing? Is that just Baron? Is that potentially Baron? It almost certainly looks like mid lane tier 1.
I mean, nice little ult coming through just to do a bit of tickle damage onto the side of not enough that's going to stop the tier 1 going across. That's the second time, by the way, that he's been caught out mid lane area. You know, you're against the Kha'Zix, you're against the Camille. They will jump onto any isolated member as soon as they can. And in this case, you are the prime target with 0 mobility, no real ability to protect yourself either. Just not good. However, a couple of times we've seen the Zed finding 1 or 2 back onto the other side. However, that gap is now slowly starting to form, currently bubbling up to be about 2k in favor of Kaizo and 3 Drakes.
Why on earth, though, are you there as Redemption? I get that you're soul clearing, right? You're trying to absorb as many souls mid lane. Yeah, but like, is that really, like, do you want to commit that much of yourself to ward on like side river when no one is actually even positioned around Baron? It just feels like a weird place for Redemption to be. I think he's given away too much this game by being caught in those kinds, and I think that's a problem here for GameLord, especially because he is really their continuous and sort of ranged damage output. If he gets taken out, like, that's a big part of their team fight gone.
Here we go then. Engage coming in for either side. Oh my god, of course Zepter goes in. Why wouldn't Zepter go in? Ibu has the ult to chase forward, goes for that, tries to get the finish off, but no. Zepter walking away with a slither of HP, not able to be burnt out, and now it's the Zed's turn. The Ignite coming through, being chased all the way down, but not enough to get finished out. Not forced to flash away, but I thought he was for a second or two. Still holds on to the ult. Ignite down on the Ahri. Some has been removed.
Unfortunately for Game Lord, Team Queso aren't quite strong enough to just straight up force the Baron here. Zefter is going to get locked up. I think that's already propped just by face checking here. Game Lord making too many of these silly errors. And that's one of the problems when you lose your tier 1 in mid. That is the kind of press Ahead was able to exert. They can just walk into your jungle and set up, you know, I guess ganks that you maybe aren't expecting, but you just can't face check at this stage of the game. It's just not something that you can get away. And that is a useless item. Yeah, exactly. That is, I mean, what are you doing?
I mean, getting caught out and nuke, it's going to keep on happening as well because they aren't learning their lesson. Now it's Zefter going back in again and getting hyper aggressive. Going to find burnt down. Game Lord, too many mistakes to count in these later stages of the game. The bug's going to get squashing instead of big for once. It's going to be an ace coming through for Keizo, and they could even look for the game end here. They've got the mid lane wave at Scoundrel. There's at least the inhibitor going down. I expect this to be game.
It's very close to game for Team here, and just punishing silly mistakes from not just a member on Game Lord, but every member on Game Lord walking to their death when they shouldn't be. This is a vessel to find their way back into this series, and it puts everything on the line for this third game.
Oh dear. Okay, well, a lot to be risked out there. Well, that's the number 1 at Scoundrel to walk away with. Ruiz not allowed to be a thing. Either you pick it away for yourself again or again, because he is an absolute terror on that pick, even coming up against Zed.
Yeah, I think I truly believe that that you take that Ahri away from him. If you're not taking that Ahri away from him, then clearly you need to ban it, because I think it's something. And I'm going to be honest, it's not because I think that the Ahri is absolutely OP here. I think it's just because it's too comfortable for Ruiz. I think you put him on something less comfortable. You allow them more, and that works out more. I think unfortunately this game round, Game Lord just had some poor decisions. I think they got a little bit too hyped around their top. Unfortunately, the matchup that should have been very Random favored was not. Random wasn't able to do as much as he would have liked, I think, in that and I think that, again, too many people getting caught out randomly. Redemption just out of position too much in these team fights as well. That was really the name of the game for me, especially as we that late game.
Yeah, it's too many being picked up, and we knew it was a pick comp as well. We spoke about that early on, that with the 3 picks they've got in the Kha'Zix, the Camille, and the Ahri, they want to be making those kind of plays. Really, to kind of look after himself, playing on the Kai'Sa, and sure, isolated and picked up a couple of times, but this game wasn't really about the carries in the bot lane. It was all about the focus in the mid lane and the jungle, a little bit towards the topsiders as well, but we've said about the focus in the jungle being a thing. Definitely felt like it in this game as well.
Zefter felt like he had the edge early on, right? It really felt like Zefter. I mean, I think even for the most part, Zefter had a really strong game on the Lee Sin, but it was just some decision making in team fights that didn't quite go his way. Andre was heavily punished in the early game. Zefter doing exactly what you're supposed to do versus a Kha'Zix, but the problem is that it was these kind of mistakes. There were too many face checks, too many silly errors from Game Lord that just allowed Queso to punish them. And all credit to Queso, they absolutely punished them. They had the good vision control. They were setting up for these mistakes. So you've got to give credit to where credit's due for Queso. But I think Game Lord were making pretty serious errors towards the latter half of this.
Absolutely. Well, errors made by either side in the first 2 games of this series. It means, of course, we go to game 3. So let's get into it. All the way to 3 to decide which team gets to face off against No Team, No Talent in that best of 5 banger coming up for you guys tomorrow. But here, for Keizo versus Game Lord, there are questions to be asked. We've already spoke about a number of them, focusing again on that Ahri in the mid lane. Does it get banned away? Does it get picked away by the side of Game Lord? Only one thing remains, and that is to get into pick and ban to find out, it's Scoundrel.
Let's absolutely take a look here. I think, as we said before, if you're not willing to pick it, the problem is it just feels so bad to ban Ahri when there are just when there are other champions that deserve. Ahri is just not one of those champions that wow, we need to ban her. But it's just too comfortable for Ruiz. Deny it. It's just way too comfortable for Ruiz. I think that's the problem. If they're not comfortable dealing with it, they need to maybe just say, well, let's make him less comfortable. And that would be my game plan potentially heading in here.
Maybe picking it away, maybe Keizo look to prioritize. See if it does become that last ban. The bans following everything that we have seen in the drafts before, all the way up to number 5. The last one coming out of Game Lord is going to be the interesting one. Will it be that Ahri? No, it's the Galio, the one that we saw in game 1 that still they appear fearful of, even though it didn't feel too impactful back then.
No, absolutely. I don't really feel like the Galio was a strong combo, but whenever you have Camille left open, I do think Galio is important to ban because the Camille Galio combo itself is really strong, and we know that Ruiz will play it. So I think, you know, you've left Camille open here, you ban one of the two. Random, he backs himself. Random backs himself in this matchup. I don't think that Random played the matchup the best way. I just want to explain the reasoning. You can actually riposte Hextech Ultimatum. It's a very easy ultimate to riposte, and therefore you just completely nullify the core part of Camille's kit. You can also riposte the hook shot as well. So it's very easy for Fiora to get the edge in this matchup. We'll see the Ahri locked in for Ruiz again here. We're going to see the
it's
Xayah.
The same draft. Not until the Xayah Rakan.
Yeah, the Xayah Rakan comes through. It's interesting because Xayah and Rakan used to be the Team Queso bot lane. Like, they would only play Xayah Rakan. I don't remember the last Origin series. We pretty much just saw exclusively Xayah Rakan from Team Queso. But that would be locked away here by Game Lord. It means we'll just see a Nami and a Kai'Sa again. It is exactly the same draft from Team Queso. Game Lord have switched it up, though. They're going to pick up the Diana here, which I actually like a bit more. It gives them a bit more solid team fight presence. I don't think they really had that with the Zed, and I think one of the places that they were lacking was in these pure kind of more hectic team fights. So I think themselves Diana gives them a really solid team fight tool that will effectively increase their odds of winning out in 5v5s.
Big worry for me is always going to be down to dealing with that pick potential, and right now I'm not seeing a huge amount that says we're safe from it, but hopefully the Xayah Rakan at least moves in towards that. Game is ready. Let's get into the last game of this best of 3 and see who walks away the winner. We said after game 1, the winners have to change nothing. Kai'Sa have kept it identical, but the one, as you say, coming in with some fresh ideas to hopefully help them get the dub in this third game.
And that will be important for Game Lord as well. And not that this really changes the things. I think we have all of our 6 teams qualified. But for Game Lord, it's more about that option to take wing at NT, because that will be important, I think, for Game Lord going into future tournaments and future stages of the Origin series. You get that chance to knock a chip off their shoulder. And I think is really what we're playing for here. It's really kind of playing for bragging rights of best in Europe heading into those all-important later stages of the Origin series.
Absolutely. For me, it's going to be about this bot lane and seeing how they do. I mean, you know me and Diana. I don't make any secrets that I love Diana. I'm a main champion in the league for years. Played her a ton in this game as well. So excited to see what can be done in this game. And she has kind of not so much bounced up and down in popularity. She had, of course, the bust that came through the Helter out in the jungle, then got taken out for a short while. Now seeing her crawling back in a couple of games today. On the side of Cut over in Group C, had an absolute field day with her in their first game. How do you think it stacks comp in particular?
I think it stacks well. I mean, you would know as a Diana one trick kind of where you feel comfortable, but I don't see many good answers apart from maybe, like a wave, really dealing with Diana. If Diana finds a good flank here, I think that she's got a lot of short range champions to exploit with her ultimate. This is really nice, though.
It's the same again. It's the aggression coming in from Zephyr in the early game. Final hit, gets away with it. All Tower won't quite put him down to 0, but takes him pretty dangerously close. Another aggression coming out of the Lee Sin, the same as we saw, but in the mid game in the previous game.
They're going to stay. Oh my god, they're greeding for the wave. they're greeding so it can't get frozen, but you can see that Andre's on this top side. He's going for it.
Trying to see what he can do with here as well. Yep, nothing massive coming out of it outside of Zephyr going down. I thought for a second you might see a second roll onto the Fiora, but it is the trade they were looking for.
He greeded. They hard greeded for the wave here. Andre could very easily double scuttle, and that is a big portion of the game where Lee Sin is supposed to have the edge over Kha'Zix, and now Kha'Zix, especially with the Ahri already setting up, have a straight up 2v2 here.
How is Memorize not dead? He got rooted down at about 5 HP, but the heal came through clutch. Flash for live. Fortunate, I think, if you're the Nami here, but it's enough. And now the focus turns in towards the Scuttle Crab, which I believe got picked up by Andre. Really wants to stick around for this one at least a little bit longer and see what he can do. But be wary, of course, as Ebba's now starting to hit level 5. I think Zephyr must have missed level, by the way.
He hasn't picked up his ultimate. Oh my god, Zephyr didn't pick up his ultimate.
That is
he did smite the right. This is that earlier play. I wouldn't really say it's much to write home about, just an overextended Acolyte, and Zephyr managed to get that cheeky last hit on him. Picks up level 4, which is nice, pretty safely from this tower, but they greeded for the wave. I get why they greeded for the wave, by the way. They greeded for it. They didn't want the Acolyte's Camille to freeze, but it meant that Andre was able to find that small angle and go for the engage.
Makes sense. Indeed. All right. Those things currently sit. Again, very little between the two teams in terms of gold as we approach that first straight coming online. Engage coming in on the box side. Memorized again. The target. Flash, but nice dodge away from Zefta's Q. Will keep him alive and healthy. Barely having to expend anything there. Health, resources to keep himself alive as we now turn our attention towards that Drake coming up in about 20 seconds. The bot lane with Game Lord saying it's time to go back. Let's go spend. And the same story can be said for Acolyte up top. So I imagine maybe look come for a join, just return back for a second. Maybe he doesn't want to be a part of this dragon fight then.
I think doing either top lane or either Baron laner is too fight right now. I think Camille infinitely more useful in a 5v5 scenario. But obviously they don't want to give any opportunity for Fiora to push that wave and potentially take the tier 1. It looks like it's going to be a Rift Herald focus for Andre here. Mountain Dragon, and I would wager that the Rift Herald is the more important objective. And unfortunately, again, Game Lord's slow to react. They may even just strike out here.
One of those vertical starting to scap around. Let's forget about the Drake entirely. And in comes the Diana, misses that ult entirely. No one caught inside the area. No one sucked into the spiral. Andre fleeing for his life, and now Ruiz being connected. Zefta looking pretty low. Did take a tower shot on the way out, but ground gained. My God, that was weird to say. Ground gained by Game Lord. There we go. We got there in the end.
Yeah, a little bit of a tongue twister here. Might end up seeing Acolyte drop down, but at least it will be potential first tower. They'll get it. Little kick from Zefta. At least if they take the first tower of the game, they can feel comfortable losing that Rift Herald, but they are, of course, giving up bot lane and bot side, which means a very easy Mountain Dragon picked up here. But the freest Mountain Dragon you'll ever get, as well as the redemption, was by himself, and he will drop. And they may even pick up a tower in this bot lane as well.
Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff. Now, what more they can turn it into. You find yourself the tower. Yes, redemption is down, but what do you make happen next? Sure, with the Dracons right now fighting their way back in, still the gold staying incredibly close between the two. Now pulled about 500 ahead, but again, it's that close still that it's really going to take our first big decisive fight, seeing when then starts to fall.
It definitely feels like Queso are in comfort though. They've got both big neutral objectives here. Nothing too crazy. Redemption just caught out by himself. Used that Kai'Sa ultimate position nicely. Pick up an isolated Icathian Rain. It's not Icathian Rain. What the hell is that ability called, Derry?
Icathian Rain for who?
The Kai'Sa's Icathian mid that. I'm gonna have to Google it. It's gonna annoy me.
You're thinking of Kog'Maw's ultimate there off the back, aren't you?
That's living artillery. I don't know what.
This is the name of his passive. Kog'Maw's
it's passive. Yeah. Totally going to have to Google this. I'm sorry.
It's something missiles.
It's literally a Icathian Rain. I doubted myself, and it was a Icathian Rain.
And you debated me in the process.
I doubted myself. I was right the first time. Anyway, to the Rift Herald here mid. It shows you the power of this objective.
Top lane though. Also being rinsed down because you've got the Diana and the Elise in there. They will just as well. In fact, they get the second one before the mid lane falls. Sure, this should also come down for the side of Kai'Sa. There we go. They go for the engage at the back of it, trying to lock one down. Random, stuck inside the Hextech ultimatum, but still makes it out alive. Same can be said as well for Show. They've again battered and bruised, but good survival coming out of Game Lord.
Technically 2 towers for 1 though, so you would say in favor of Team Queso here. They also have cracked open that mid lane. That means complete access, unbridled access to the jungle from Game Lord. And I think realistically that's something that Game Lord will now have, especially versus a very heavy pick comp like a Nami, Ahri Nation. You now have to be so careful. You have to invest a lot of resources, defensive vision, and that means you don't get resources to invest on. And that's the problem that you'll now have. And that really is why you to at least take some towers in mid and bot and try and even that pressure middle side of the map.
Alrighty. Things now calm down for at least a couple of seconds. There's no big objectives yet. You're seeing a bit of a scrap set up around this bottom tower. The jump in from Andre. Not quite where he wanted to go, I think, but they still find themselves a kill. Surely Show the next one to fall down. Do they flash over the wall? Yes, they do. Ruiz in pursuit, but Show equally flashing away. Game Lord lose one down there at Scoundrel, overcommitting a little for that bot lane tower.
Yeah, you can see they're desperate to try and get some kind of objectives here. And again, Game Lord in a rough spot. They had a relatively strong early game, but when it comes to decision making around objectives, they have been much inferior to Team Queso. I think Queso have made the much stronger decisions. I think they've played out their objectives well. I also think, giving the comfort over to Team Queso clearly has been an error for Game. Andre on his Kha'Zix, that will be that's a nice here though onto Ruiz.
Yeah, I mean that you want to catch. They know with no flash, no ultimate on side, because he flashed after Show alongside the ultimate. They knew that if they made it work in time, and they've done it in good time, because in about 20 seconds or so, ultimate will be back online. And here's how it started as well. Only the 1 kill, just a little bit, I feel, of an overcommitment coming in from the side of Game Lord again. He was the one that ultimately led to Ruiz dying about 30 seconds later.
We haven't really seen any big, strong 5v5s either, which is why I think this Diana was actually drafted. I feel like, you know, they have that stronger straight-up 5v5 team fight or a sort of team-wide CC to land. Oh, goodness, this is disaster. Again.
We were just here, like, seconds ago, guys. What's going on? They're looking to get themselves away. The potential support come hanging off to the side. Are they hoping they can pick something out here? Because that might be what's just about to happen. Ruiz has already gone through the ultimate, has no flash, and they're turning around. They want to burn through the Ahri before anything else kicks off, and they will find one back. Once should turn into a second as our Andre has arrived as well. They'll try they can, but it's 3 versus 2 here. And finally, the Diana comes. The question is, can she find anything? I imagine not in this 3 versus 3. It's going to require in-point precision landing of the ultimate here to really switch this one back. But I imagine Game Lord, as they've done now, will back away and say, let's leave that one for later.
I think they had you had a lot of CC. You had way more CC than Team Queso had available to you at that time. And you know, if you landed good Rakan knock-up, you could get a really big die, probably an option to look for the 3v3 in that scenario. Right here, though, Memorize, I think, unfortunately, this is always a very risky play to make. As Einar flash bubbling, it's quite an inconsistent piece of CC to land, and so that's easy with that riposte to get in and burst out as support. I think, you know, obviously, Zeft had to sacrifice himself. It's a shame that was able to pick up the knock-up onto the Kazakhs there. It might have been able to take out Andre and make it easier for them to contest that dragon, but as it stands, another neutral objective in case, though.
One of those now that maybe the catch out to Andre as well. He flashes away, he does everything he can to get away. Forced out the ultimate from Show. Not enough, of course, that he finds himself off the back of it. I'm looking very closely at this Diana, by the way, just finishing off that about 30 seconds ago. That's about 30 seconds ago or so, and it's been sat in for the majority of the game, farming away the Krogs whenever they come up. Top lane 2, just doing all they can, as much gold on side as they can, almost joint richest in the game, but of course, currently falling on the side of Kaiser, where the most of the money does sit on those carries outside of Ruiz.
Yeah, and I think especially Ibu, hero of this series on this Kaiser, has found some really, really important plays in these team fights. Really just the silent assassin. He hasn't really taken the spotlight because obviously some of the other members in his team have been making the flashy plays, but Ibu on this Kaiser has kind of stepped up and been that consistent damage source. He's been pretty much unshakable, I think, when it comes to some of these team fights. But this is going to be a very, very risky Baron start. There is a teleport available from Acolyte, but the ward will spot them out, and you can see that Game Lord are not going to let that one go for.
Top lane is having a bit of a scrap in the river as well, as they are both on their way away after exchanging a couple of slaps, but not enough for either side to be particularly threatened. Everyone going back to farming, and we've kind of hit that point between the mid game and the late game where it's like, okay, we know items are about to start coming online. Get ourselves over invested. Once we have 1 or 2 items on side, the TPs come out of his, by the way, that's when, you know, you can start thinking about those more, you know, the more scrappy team fights that ultimately start leading to an Ibis falling down.
But you can just see how much of an effect the early towers being taken mid has had on Game Lord's ability to control the map. I don't remember the last time they passed the river. They've been stuck in their own jungle, and they're having to cautiously maneuver up. I mean, you need only look at the vision control to show you how much there is lacking for Game Lord right now, especially to eat away at these jungle camps as well. Getting that experience, it's a bit of a risky one.
All right, here we go. Massive fight coming back of the engage. Zepter and Redemption a bit low towards the back. Want to be careful they don't get focused out too hard. Out comes the Feathers to do any significant damage or even keep himself safe, as no one was really aggressive. Great kick back onto Ibu. Zonyas catch him out with the Crescent as well. Massive damage coming through. Double knock up in the back line as the Zonyas comes out for the Diana. Everyone's looking so low again, but once more it's Kaiser walking away with flashing health bars. The other side falling down before it's Scoundrel. Ibu the only one being traded back on the other side. A massive win for the side of Kaiser.
Why does it feel like Game Lord are so slow to react in team? Don't know if we're going to get an option to look back at that fight, but 4 members out by themselves to the blue side. Who were they backing away from? Why were they not just committing? There's a big engage here, though.
In the eventual walk away with the Baron, which is the key one they were looking to pick up a couple more members. Stagger the respawns coming out for the side of Game Lord. The heal in effect, but cut through 4 members worth of damage. That's a huge advantage for Kaiser, because now with 5 players again, that Drake's about to come online. Maybe a fight that Game Lord didn't want to take at Scoundrel.
I don't think though. I think it's risky to try and sort of randomly approach the Baron without your jungler as well. I get the idea, maybe there were HP bars, maybe you could have made something happen, but this Diana hasn't been effective to me. Like he's been holding his ultimate. He hasn't been trying to get into the middle. Like, what I really wanted to see from Vejos on this Diana, like, as soon as the opportunity arises, jump into the fight and sound. Like, it was an effective ultimate, but it was a late ultimate last team fight. And that's a lot of damage onto Zepter here.
Mir's trying to go all the way at the back and caught in the back line with the Diana, but out damaging her at this point. The kill coming in onto Diana. Ibu's still alive. They want to finish him off, but they cannot make it happen. Kaizo charging a one. Andre does get traded out, but they were the kills they're looking for. Top side, it's a scrap as well. Running away bruised and battered. The Fiora basically at full HP, but nothing that Kaizo will concern themselves with, as right now she is all that stands between them and a couple of inhibitor towers going down.
Why does it just feel like Game can't team fight these last two games? It has just felt like the way they've approached these team lackluster, and Team Kaizo now, they are certainly booking themselves a rematch with NTNT in a 5 tomorrow. I don't really see a good way, even if this fight goes in the favor of Gamelord, that they actually get their way back in. It's left on the Nexus. It looks like it's not going to happen, Derry. BK's though locking themselves in to that top bracket NTNT.
It's one of those that you look at it, and we came in asking the question of which of these two teams is strong. Found out for the second time this month. Kaizo, the ones coming out the victors. Good series, I think, at points, but equally some really scrappy and messy parts need to be worked on before we get to that championship at Scoundrel.
I think Gamelord have both of these teams have been. I think Kaizo have quietly made their statements over the last couple of Origin series, but I think Gamelord, unfortunately, they started off, I think, as the favorites for Origin series, but have really been exposed over the course of the last few monthly finals. And I think, unfortunately, there will be a lot of lessons for Gamelord to reflect on as they head towards the later stages of the tournament.
Replay's playing back out here as well. It has been one of those fun series. We've had a really interesting one so far today. Some throws in the middle. I'll say, and today it has, of course, been our last game that's just been completed, but a couple of throwing games across the board. We will be having a chat with 69 from Cut very, very shortly as well in an interview. This one, though, I think I'm looking forward to seeing how tomorrow, but from what we've seen today, do you see them bringing down NTNT tomorrow?
No, not really. I think NTNT to let Team Kaizo get away with draft comfort picks like this, because I think realistically, look at Team Kaizo's draft. It's not actually that. Like a lot of these picks are actually pretty weak in a if you compare it, to what we know from League of Legends PC, and I know the meta's not entirely the same. Things like Kha'Zix and Ahri are quite easily exposed to competitive play, and I think unfortunately Gamelord just they're somehow letting Team Kaizo get away with these styles of picks. Comfortable for Team Kaizo, and Kaizo are just able to just make them work because it is comfort for them. But I think versus NTNT, I think they're too good to make these picks look as strong as they did in this series.
Yeah, a lot of looking up to do to NTNT, and despite what their name says, very an ironic one. There is bucket loads of talent on that team that many need to be trying to compete with. Silent Killer in this third game, one that we touched on here, and really in the prior two games, it was more, can you just survive against the onslaught coming in from all directions? It felt this one, you really started to see him shine as a carry.
Yeah, I think Ibu and Memorized had some questions over them over the last few Origin series, but I think they've slowly been answering them, especially Ibu. Ibu's Kai'Sa looked really strong. I think it was Memorized Nami had a lot of really influential bubbles, which I can tell you as a Nami player, difficult to make happen on a consistent basis. I would say that Nami bubble is one of the most inconsistent pieces of crowd control to land in the game, and so to be able to actually be effective is really nice. But overall, I think Team Kai'Sa, one weakness that we've seen, obviously a strength in this series, is that they're quite reliant on certain picks, I think, to feel competitive in a match. And I think that's something that they will need to try and adjust heading into that series tomorrow, because I think NTNT have got a wide range of picks that they perform adequately on. They've got a lot of different styles of comps that they can make work for them. And in general, I think match them where Kai'Sa is strong. Like Kai'Sa is generally quite strong in jungle. I think honestly NTNT is stronger in jungle, and I think also the bot lane is a far higher caliber from NTNT as well, and they won't kind of let the Team Kai'Sa bot lane get away with as much as they did in this series.
Lots to look forward to tomorrow, I'm sure. At the brackets as well, starting with Group A, we will work our way through, so in case you have missed anything from tonight, you can currently see how things square up. After that victory for Kai'Sa, they do face off against No Team, No Talent in the best of 5 final tomorrow to determine who walks away as the August winner. I think a line and path through the journey so far for No Team, No Talent, but that rematch tomorrow, one that I'm sorely looking forward to at Scoundrel.
I think it's going to be a banger. I'm very excited for you can see this is the lower bracket on Group A here. Big ups to Team Singularity, by the way. Actually getting to a top 4 position here is a really result for them. I know it doesn't really give them anything in terms of chances of qualifying for the later stages of the tournament, but it's a really for Singularity, especially with the roster shuffles that they've had coming into this particular tournament. I think they'll be pretty happy with a top 4 finish next to Team Kai'Sa, Gamelord, and NTNT.
Let's take a look at Group B as well. The most surprising tournament of the bunch, I think. No Na'Vi, no Footballist, no Unicorns of Love in the final. Supermassive Blades, who have truly blazed their way through this bracket, coming up against BAL Esport in that final tomorrow.
Wait, Unicorns of Love got knocked out in the second round of the losers bracket?
Yes.
My gosh, I somehow missed that. That's actually pretty nutty. What I would say though is that I think BAL absolutely did for Na'Vi a favor. I think that BAL are basically winning their series versus ROG essentially confirmed Na'Vi for a top 2 spot in this group. Na'Vi also took the fate out of their own hands when they unfortunately knocked themselves out early on as well.
Absolutely. Here's Group C as a quick roundup as well. Cut, despite having a bit of a scrappy start along with Sunlight Team, the 2 favourites of this group did start out rough, but Cut with the lower bracket run, come back into and 3-0 GK Esports, the team that they said they wanted to get revenge on. They did it at Scoundrel and looked pretty sharp in the process.
Are they back-to-back Group C winners? I think Cut have
won one of them, I think.
Yeah, I think
they were
you could
slightly
be right.
ahead coming into this month.
Yeah. Well, I think it's still a strong performance from Cut. I think they've been strong contenders in Group C overall. So pretty impressed with them and the way they performed in Group C. And I think they have managed to sneak in towards those later stages.
They have indeed. Well, you know what? We've got a very nice interview plan with 69 from Cut joining us here for a quick chat about their journey through Group C. Now, I've got first and foremost, 69. What the hell went on this month? Sunlight going out early. You guys getting dropped to the lower bracket. Did anyone expect that? Go it? You can't hear us.
I think we just got to check. I don't think you can hear us right now. 69, can you hear us? Nope, can't.
I'm muted on Hangouts. Where is he? Just him.
He looks happy. He looks happy. You know, that's the main thing. He's chilling. He's looking happy. He's he's happy that they've qualified for the later stages of the tournament. I mean, that's good. That's good. Unfortunately, we can't get him in for an interview. We had some tech issues there, as you been able to see, but nonetheless, it's nice to see his face and nice to see some representation from Group C as well. They obviously the region of the 3 that were sort of included in the Origin series, and I think it's going to be an interesting one. We haven't really had the chance to explore relative group power, but obviously as we get towards the later stages of the Origin series, we will be able to see those kind of storylines unfold, and it will be interesting to see where Group C ends up, compared to Group B and Group A. I think most people pegging Group A as the most competitive group that we have here, but obviously surprises can always happen when it comes to international play.
As these highlights play out, then let's talk about that a little bit further, because there are 6 teams going through to the championship, 3 teams from Group A, 2 from B, as you say, and then Cut coming in from Group C. It's been interesting seeing how things have evolved. We had some really spicy potential outcomes looking at yesterday, where UOL might not make it through Group B, for example, or Sunlight was going to come down to a best-of-5 grand final to see who ultimately it was Cut in C that made their way out. As you're seeing this game playing back out on your screen, that best-of-5 grand final for Group C that started did result in the 3-0 coming out for Cut.
Yeah, and I think Cut, they sort of put their mark down on this series. They clearly look like the more dominant team. And this was the series that was really surprising, though. This ROG series where I think, there was a chance to knock Na'Vi out, especially if ROG were able to win this series. So this was a really important one because they had their fate in their own hands, BK ROG. If they won this and then won Group B, they were going to the finals. But unfortunately, they weren't able to make it out. And BAL with the Kingmakers here, they allowed Na'Vi that spot in Group B.
Yeah, we'll be owing them a few favours, I'm sure, in the future with the way that one shaped up. And then, of course, when we step across into Group A in a moment, you'll see how that one panned out as well in case you missed the game. I mentioned about the Diana, by the way. Seeing that coming through out of BAL, always exciting to see how the different use cases are being brought out for it across the groups. And this Jarvan in the final game, an absolute terror. That Cataclysm wrecked them in that final fight.
Yeah, it really did. And I think one of the problems that I had overall in this particular series with Team Queso and Gamelord was just that Gamelord didn't really feel like they were ever team fighting properly. They were never setting up for objectives properly. They felt really slow to react in team fights. I feel like they played with a little bit too much caution in some of these team fight situations as well as honestly just making silly mistakes. Team fight that I specifically think could have gone massively in favor of Gamelord. But if you just watched where they do, like they all back off, like you could see 4 of them. Okay, it just cut away. 4 of them were by themselves in Blue Star Jungle. They could have more heavily. I think they could have heavily committed especially with that Diana ultimate being available, but they just didn't do it. And in Queso, on these comfortable drafts, were able to knock them out in a pretty convincing fashion over the last 2 games.
Absolutely. Well, that's pretty much all of today's games concluded. Tomorrow, we have the 5 grand finals to come. Group A and Group B, still plenty to look forward to. And even though, of course, our top 6 teams have already qualified for the championship at this point, tomorrow is always worth tuning in preview of what's going on here in the Origin Series, because after tomorrow, that's it, Scoundrel. That's it. 3 months of Origin Series done and dusted.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been super excited to see how the wider EMEA region is able to compete at the high level in the Origin Series. It's really great to see competitive Wild come to our region as well. It's already been doing really well over in Southeast Asia. We're starting to see, Korean and Chinese tournaments pop up. North America has now got its circuit on the go. We're seeing a lot of South American little circuits up as well. So you're really starting to see some global presence in Wild Rift esports, and it's just great to see it alive and well in EMEA, and especially with some really high level of competition as well.
Plenty more to come, I'm sure. But that is all for us today. From myself, Scoundrel, Riku, Yuka, and the production team behind the scenes, we hope you had a good show, and we'll catch you guys tomorrow for 2 killer best of 5 grand finals. But until then, good night.